open meetings of the Texas Government Code as amended, I call to order a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District for Monday, April the 22nd, 2013 at 7:03 p.m. The board may meet in closed session to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, deliberation of the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, deliberation of a negotiated contract for a prospective gift to the district, deliberation about commercial or financial information that the board has received from a business prospect, or deliberation of an offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect, and/or to consult with legal counsel regarding pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer, or on a matter which the school district's legal counsel determines should be confidential in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, and 551.071, respectively. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Ellens. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes by all those present on the dais. Okay. At this time, I'm going to invite our guests to lead us in the pledge.
And now please stand for the pledges.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ready? Go. Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. And the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Ready? Go. Honor a la bandera de Texas. Te juro lealtad, Texas, un estado bajo Dios, único y indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. Dr. Kostarfin and board, thank you for having us tonight from Doss Elementary to say the pledge to begin your board meeting. It's an honor to be here. I've chosen several different groups of students to come and join you today for the pledge. And first of all, I want to introduce a few students who have been participating in the Voltage program. The Voltage program is a program where students are encouraged to walk and bike to school. Once they get to school, they bing in at the pole, and this program tracks the number of miles that they have biked and walked to school. We are now leading the nation, not the state, but the nation, in miles biked and walked to school. So I brought some of those students here today. Thank you. And from the Voltage program, we have Katie Field, Libby O'Connell, Finn O'Connell, and Michelangelo Duva. These students are our top students from the Voltage program. Next, I would like to introduce you to a student whose reflection entry competed at the state level. Reflections is a PTA program in which we enter some type of artistic description based on a theme. Oliver Harrington competed at the state level for Reflections. In science fair, Doss sent 14 students to the regional level. They all came back with a #1 first place win at the regional category, and we're very excited to present Noah Randall, Victor Garcia Cervantes, and Aniston White. My last two students are chess pros. I mean, for real. They really know how to play chess. These young ladies, the oldest, Camille, will you raise your hand, Camille? Cal? She competed not at the state competition, not at the national competition last year, but at the world chess competition. She was in a running for the junior Olympic team for chess last year. Pretty impressive. She's brought her little sister with her tonight, who is also very good at chess, and they are both competing at the, let's see the name, Super National Competition in a few weeks, which, if they win, will qualify them for the world competition. Her sister is Simona Cow. Thank you, Dr. Kostarfin and the board, for having us tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Griffin. If we have any of our tremendous teachers from DOS or our supportive parents from DOS, if you would please stand so we can recognize you as well. Thank you so much. And students, please come forward.
So you get on camera.
Thank you so much to our visitors from Doss Elementary. We understand there's some big event happening tomorrow, so you need to get home and get plenty of sleep so that you'll do well on your tests. So thank you so much for being here. Let's give them another round of applause.
Good evening, President Torres, members of the Board of Trustees, and Dr. Christarfin. I would like to bring forward Blaine Helwig, principal of Graham Elementary School, for recognition. Mr. Helwig has brought several of his staff members with him tonight, and they are as follows. First of all, Mr. Helwig. Chow-Lin Chang, assistant principal. Kathy Lara, counselor. Maya McElroy, librarian. Gloria Reyes, instructional specialist. Rebecca Schrader, math coach. Schroeder. Didn't practice that one. Olga Monti, reading specialist. Elsa Mendoza, kindergarten teacher. Janet Jackson, first grade teacher. Susan Padilla, second grade teacher. Katie Stansel, third grade teacher. Olga Andriva, fourth grade teacher. Samantha Phillips, fifth grade teacher. Paul Love Kretschmer, representing special areas. President Torres.
And you are Mr. Gilbert Dick?
Oh, and yes, and I am Gilbert Hicks, the Associate Superintendent for Area 3, covering Graham.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Bradley.
Tonight, on behalf of the AISD Board of Trustees, I am proud to recognize J. Walter Graham Elementary, which was awarded the designation of the 2012 Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education. Graham is the only, and I'm going to say that again, Graham is the only Central Texas school among 20 schools in the state recognized for overall academic excellence or for making progress in improving student academic achievement levels. Outstanding. In addition, Blaine Helwig is one of 7 principals in the United States to earn the Terrell H. Bell Award for bringing student scores from barely acceptable to exemplary at 5 years. He devised strategies to help students master fundamental math and reading skills and designed a progress monitoring system for teachers that pinpoints what students know and what they need to learn. He gathers all specialists and staff to provide extra help to students who need it. The department also commended him for being a skilled collaborator, bringing community and business groups in to build a school garden and illustrate hallways with interactive learning murals. We commend and congratulate J. Walter Graham Elementary School for this prestigious award and Principal Blaine Helwig for outstanding leadership. We are confident you will continue to realize the potential of every child and ensure all students are prepared for college, career, and life. So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously by everyone on the dais. Please come forward. And if there are any other family members or other guests from Graham Elementary in the audience, would you please stand so we can appreciate you as well? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Good evening, Dr. Kostarfin, President Torres, Board of Trustees. My name is Kimiko Cartwright. I am the Executive Director for the Office of Educator Quality. Tonight is my honor and privilege to present to you the 32 Austin Independent School District educators who have earned the National Board certification for the 2012 school year. We have 25 newly certified teachers and 7 who have renewed their certification. In this group of 32, we have teachers who have been in AISD anywhere from 2 years to 25 years. We have 13 secondary teachers, 18 elementary, and 1 from an alternative campus. 7 of the 32 are from Title I schools. These teachers represent the high quality and commitment that Austin ISD teachers represent. I present to you the 2012 National Board Certified Teachers. Dr. Kostarfin.
Thank you, Ms. Cartwright. Again, it is with great pride that we are here tonight for our Board of Trustees to congratulate and recognize our 32 National Board Certified Teachers. For those of you who don't know about the process, these are people who probably haven't seen their families for months. It almost feels like an entire school year. They made lots of sacrifices to be able to gain this certification and spent lots of extra time after school, on the weekends, and any available time they had. It's a pretty rigorous process, and it's actually the 13th year that our teachers have participated in this process. It's been supported by the district. We make it part of our human capital investment in our teachers. We believe that it's an important part of what makes professional development particularly special for people who want to spend their careers as a career teacher. And this is just one opportunity that allows them to really showcase how excellent they are. With the inclusion of the 2012 Nationally Board Certified Teachers that we're recognizing tonight, AISD will now have a total of 248 Nationally Board Certified Teachers, and that's more than any other district in the state of Texas. I just want to say, as your superintendent, and I'm sure the board feels the same way, that by getting this certification and being acknowledged, we know that you are demonstrating your true passion for teaching and your commitment to the profession. I know that our students benefit from this. They will perform better, they will be more developed as a whole child, and that they'll be more successful in life. We're going to acknowledge you by name, and we do want you to stand up for your name. You can sit back down because there are a few of you, but do stand through the whole description so that we can get your gorgeous face on camera, so everyone in the city of Austin and anyone who gets the AISD Channel 22 can see your face up close, and we're going to, get in real tight so that everybody remembers what you look like, and these principals are going to be vying to hire you in the out years, so they want to get good snapshots in their mind. I'd like to start first with Camille Barth Benuelos. She's from Blazer Elementary. She's a graduate of the University of Texas and Texas State University. She is in her 12th year of teaching, having taught bilingual 2nd and 4th grades at Sims and Blazer Elementaries. She is prepared for being an instructional coach now at Blazer. In 2005, she was awarded Teacher of the Year, and she served as team leader and mentor. Her area of certification is Middle Childhood Generalist. Congratulations. Brenda Beams is from Cowan. Brenda is a 5th grade teacher who's taught for 26 years, all in AISD. She's traveled to Japan. In 2006, she participated in the Japan Fulbright Memorial Fund program. She shared her expertise by writing curriculum, presenting staff development opportunities, and is currently a facilitator for AISD's National Board Certification cohort. Her renewed area of certification is Middle Childhood Generalist. Thank you. Randy Clinton Bell from Casey Elementary. Mr. Bell has worked in AISD for 9 years as a bilingual teacher. This year he's teaching two-way dual language, yay, Yay! In first grade classroom at Casey. He's currently working on his master's degree in the areas of bilingual multicultural education at the University of Texas. Recently, he has presented at the National Association of Bilingual Teachers and the AISD UT Adelante conferences. Mr. Bell's area of certification is early and middle childhood English as a new language. Rachel H.F. Blunt. I don't know what the HF stands for, but F is going with fantastic, and I can't think of a word for H off the top of my head. Maybe Rachel Harris's fantastic Blunt elementary teacher. But she's in her 7th year as a bilingual PPCD teacher at Harris Elementary. She grew up in Austin ISD schools, and she feels privileged to teach in the same community. Thank you for that. Ms. Blunt's area of certification is early childhood through young adulthood exceptional needs specialist. Congratulations. Katie Brown, another Cowan Elementary teacher. She is a proud product of AISD as well and is in her 21st year of teaching for us, even though she looks like she just got out of high school. She served as a national board mentor, supports the induction of new teachers through the TIP program, and presents professional development for language arts and social studies departments. Her renewed area of certification is early childhood generalist. Great job. Cindy Binkin. Hey, wow, you're way back there. She's from Bowie High School. She's a 17-year AISD veteran who began teaching at Burnett Middle School, served as the math department chair at Bowie High School for 7 years now, and is now an instructional coach there as well. She's the recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, and wow, that's like super big bucks and wonderful acknowledgments. She co-founded and has co-facilitated the National Board Pre-Candidacy Program for the past 8 years. Her renewed area of certification is adolescence and young adulthood mathematics. Elizabeth Whitehead Chappell from Lamar Middle School. Hi. She's in her 15th year of teaching orchestra. She has taught at Martin Middle School, several elementary campuses, and is currently at Lamar. She's a proud graduate, parent, and teacher in the Austin Independent School District. Her area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood music. Great job. Kimberly Coppola. Coppola. Summit Elementary School. She's in her 16th year of teaching at Summit Elementary. She enjoys motivating students through robotics and supports the Austin Koblenz Exchange Program. She is the gifted and talented advocate for her campus, and she was their 2013 Teacher of the Year and is a national board mentor. Her area of certification is middle childhood generalist. Congratulations. Another teacher from Casey Elementary, Erica Cruz Anchando. Miss Anchando has worked in pre-kindergarten bilingual dual language education as a teacher in AISD for 8 years. She's been a team leader and has provided parent classes to help parents support their children at home. And through her national board certification process, she says she's learned a lot about herself as a teacher and how to best prepare students for success. Her area of certification is early childhood generalist. Thank you. From Ridgetop Elementary School, we have Mary Courier. Woohoo! She's been a teacher in AISD for 21 years, and that was at Cook. And then she did Lucy Reed demonstration. She's also taught bilingual pre-kindergarten for 14 years and has been a bilingual PPCD teacher for 5 years. She's proud of her work for the district and that respects and supports the National Board Certification process, which is core to something that she believes in. And her area of certification is early childhood through young adulthood exceptional needs specialist. Congratulations. David Edwards from Overton Elementary. He spent 6 years teaching physical education at the Volma Overton Early College Prep program. In addition to his teaching responsibilities, Coach Edwards created the Bulldog Basketball Club, inspiring his scholars to excel both on and off the court. Coach Edwards has served as team leader, neighborhood Longhorn coordinator, and was the 2012 Live with Kelly Top Teacher semi-finalist. His area of certification is early and middle school physical education. Thank you. Heather Fleming from Summit Elementary. She's the 23-year veteran of Abilene, Round Rock, and Austin ISDs. She teaches 5th grade science at Summit. She was named AISD's Elementary Teacher of the Year in 2010 and received the Texas Medical Association's Excellence in Science Teaching Award in 2011. Whew. Mrs. Fleming credits the National Board certification process for strengthening the rigor in her lessons and reflecting on how students learn. Her area of certification is middle childhood generalist. Congratulations. Richard Frazier from Anderson. He's been teaching for 26 years, the last 12 in AISD. He's currently the Fine Arts Chair for the department at Anderson and also an instructional coach. His orchestras and bands have been consistent UIL sweepstakes award winners for his entire career. Additionally, he's a very active volunteer in his roles. It's included the co-chair of the AISD facility master planning process, the capital improvement, the CIBPAC. I can't remember that acronym. Capital Improvement Bond Planning Advisory Committee. Thank you, Richard. He's currently a member of my superintendent's teacher advisory forum. He's also the state chair for orchestra sight reading, and for 6 years he was the chair of the Texas Music Educators Region 18 Orchestra. He's an active member of the music associations with many acronyms like TMEA, TODA, and something else. MOO. That's it, Omicron. Thank you. His area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood music. Thank you, Richard. Another Cowan teacher, Sarah Friend. She's a third grade teacher at Cowan. She's taught first, second, third, fifth grades in AISD for the last 14 years. Pursued her national board certification in 2003 as a way to really challenge herself and her teaching practices to increase student learning. It was for the same reasons that she decided to do it one more time for the renewal process. And her renewed area of certification is early childhood generalist. Thank you for doing that again. Cowan's going to have a big night because Tracy Graham is here with us as well. She's a product of Austin ISD school system. She's been a teacher for 17 years, all in AISD. She was the 2012 AISD Elementary Teacher of the Year. One of her proudest accomplishments as a teacher was becoming nationally board certified, and a close second was becoming recertified last year. And this rigorous process, again, has helped her reflect on her practice in an extensive, meaningful way to be a lifelong learner for herself and for her students. Her renewed is that two renews? Renewed area of certification is early childhood generalist. Natalie Johnson from O. Henry Middle School. She taught school for 1 year in Missouri before she came to AISD and then landed in O. Henry in 2005. She currently teaches physical education and health at O. Henry and also enjoys coaching basketball, volleyball, and track, and her area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood physical education. Congratulations. Lou Coon from Crockett. She's been a math teacher for 7 years, where she currently serves as the math department chair. Her favorite thing about being a math teacher is getting to know and love the 180 new people every year. Her area of certification is adolescence and young adulthood mathematics. Holly Lauber from Zavala. She's been teaching in Zavala since August of 2005. She's mentored prospective teachers through the You Teach program and also serves as the gifted and talented advocate on her campus. She believes that the certification process not only made her more reflective, but also had an immediate and long-lasting impact on her students. Her area of certification is early childhood generalist. Chris Lingle from Cassis Elementary School. He's been teaching kindergarten for 10 years. Wow, as a middle school person, and that's really impressive. The last 6 years at Cassis, he's worked with many brilliant colleagues, he says, who've helped him hone his abilities through authentic collaboration. He's also served as team leader, CAC representative, GT advocate, mentor to UT interns, student teachers, and his area of certification is early childhood generalist. Congratulations. Patricia Lipinski from Goriski, two really tough names to say at the same time, is an 18-year veteran. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies in 1994. Her master's is actually as an educational, it was in 2005. She most recently became an ESL certified teacher. In secondary education, her focus has been really with an emphasis on reading instruction. That warms my heart. And her certification is an early childhood through young adulthood exceptional needs specialist. Abby Mandel from Austin High is an art teacher and a visual artist in her 7th year teaching, all at Austin High in AISD. She's continually challenging herself in her work, enjoying working with many new processes to find ways to adapt new techniques into lessons for her students. Her area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood art. Lisa Mae Milkey from Goriski. She is in her 12th year of teaching in AISD. She currently teaches World Cultures 6 at Goriski. She's served in leadership roles as a team leader, department chair, curriculum writer. She shared her technology expertise at workshops at the district and state level. Her area of certification is early adolescence social studies history. Brian Miller from Rosedale. He has taught students of all ages with significant physical and cognitive disabilities at the Rosedale School. He was Campus Teacher of the Year and an AISD semifinalist in 1997-98. And for many years, he's mentored aspiring national board candidates. He continues to serve in so many different roles at the campus. Did I see you playing the guitar one day? Was ukulele. Oh, at the Rosedale ride. That song is still in my head. But yeah, let's not do it for the, yeah. So, but he's great. He dresses up and gets everybody really motivated. But his renewed area of certification is early childhood through young adulthood, exceptional needs a specialist, and an amazing ukulele player. Cody Moody from Lhasa. Hi. He spent 9 years of his teaching career at the Liberal Arts and Science Academy for AISD. He's developed a dynamic model UN program on his campus and has helped teachers at other schools in developing their own model and curricula. His area of certification is adolescence and young adulthood social studies history. Martha Ross, Martin Middle School. Her master's is in Spanish language and culture. She's worked as a Spanish teacher in AISD for 13 years. She's mentored UT observers and student teachers. For many years, she's organized a Spanish credit by exam and national Spanish exam for the Martin Spanish students. Her area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood world languages. Liz Schnotz, Ann Richards. She's taught Spanish for 10 years at Lanier and Cedar Park High Schools and now the Ann Richards School for Young Women Leaders. She has presented at the district and state level conferences, is particularly proud of her work on the campus and district level for her curriculum work for for native speakers of Spanish. Her area of certification is early adolescence through young adulthood world languages. Congratulations. Miss Debbie Tannert from Mills. There you are. She's a music teacher with 26 years of elementary classroom experience. She's had extensive experience writing for national textbook publications and the music memory materials. She's a proud product of AISD and is one of the 10 last Austinites in this city. Her renewed area of certification is early and middle childhood music. Congratulations. Diana Urch from Hart Elementary, welcome. She's also a REACH mentor at Hart and is an Austin ISD licensed new teacher center trainer. This is her 20th year in education. She started her career as a second grade ESL teacher, taught first grade, bilingual for 11 years, and then served as an instructional specialist. Her area of certification is early and middle childhood literacy, reading, and language arts. I know that there are 4 National Board Certified teachers that couldn't be here with us tonight, but in case they are, Susan Devani from Anderson High School. Nope, she didn't make, and Shauna Kelso from Bowie. And I'm just going to say it anyway. Susan received her certification for adolescents and young adulthood English language arts. Shauna Kelso received hers for early adolescents, young adulthood English language arts. I just wanted to check and make sure that Emily Murr from DOS, okay, she got her area of certification in middle childhood generalist. And I just wanted to check one more time for Roxanne Ramirez from Dawson. And she received her certification as an early childhood generalist. So I don't think I missed anyone. Congratulations. We're really proud of you. Mr. President, Trustees of the Board, this concludes our presentation for recognition.
Ms. Ellens.
Well, it is with great pride that the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District congratulates and recognizes these 32 National Board Certified teachers. We acknowledge the commitment involved in this process and the sacrifices that both the teachers and their families have made to gain this certification. This is the 13th year that a cohort of National Board candidates has been supported through the Austin Independent School District's Professional Development Department. As you heard before, with the inclusion of the 2012 National Board Certified teachers we are recognizing tonight, we are now honored and proud to have 248 National Board Certified teachers in AISD. And once again, just think about it, it's more than any other district in the state of Texas. So, board members, please join me in honoring these outstanding individuals for their achievement in becoming a National Board Certified teacher. So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Tice. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes by all those present on the dais. Board teachers, would you please come forward so that we can recognize you individually? And I believe we have some of the principals from the schools that these teachers represent. So if you're here, please come forward as well. Okay. If I can have your attention at this point. During the past week, there have been some tragic events that have taken place in Boston and in West Texas. Can I ask you to join me in a moment of silence for those who have been touched by the violence in Boston, Massachusetts, and by the tragedy in West Texas? Thank you very much. Okay, at this point in the program, we will move to citizens communication. This is a time we dedicate at each regularly scheduled board meeting for public comments. Under the open meetings law and the rules of this board, there will not be a deliberation between the persons at the microphone and the dais, but we will be taking notes. In order to provide as many opportunities for input as possible within a limited time period, each speaker will be allotted 2 minutes with a maximum of 30 speakers allowed. As is the board's longstanding practice, speakers must have signed up in person and can only sign up for themselves. The board will not allow substitutions or yielding of time to others. As you come to the microphone, there is a device that will light up as you move through your 2 minutes of allotted time. When the buzzer sounds, please take the opportunity to sum up your comment so we can move on to the next person, and each person who has signed up will have the opportunity to address the board. If you wish to address the board this evening but are not called when the maximum is reached, please know that you can submit your comments in writing by email to the board at trustees@austinisd.org or fax at 414-1486. We ask that whether you come to give a complaint or praise, that you reference the staff member by position or by abbreviated last name, for example, Mr. D or Ms. A, unless you're addressing the superintendent of schools or the board, and then feel free to address us directly. The district is a local governmental body charged with serving the educational needs of all students, and board meetings must be focused on meeting this charge. All regular board meetings are televised and rebroadcast on AISD Cable Channel 22 over the AISD website. We ask that audience members, whether speaking or not, please show respect for others at all times. The Communication Services Department provides a Spanish language translator and is provided for audience members who need assistance when addressing trustees or need assistance understanding comments made to trustees during citizens' communication. If you need this service during other portions of the meeting, please speak with the interpreter. Ruby Esarche, Communications Specialist, will repeat this message in Spanish.
Buenas noches, mesa directiva, presidente Torres, superintendente Karsarfan. Mi nombre es Rubí Sarche y soy intérprete del distrito. Mi compañera y yo estamos aquí para ofrecer nuestros servicios de interpretación al español a las personas que los necesiten. Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, the first three names, Pat Rios, Chris Boyd, Mario J. Cruz.
Good evening, board members, President Torres, Dr. Kastarfin. My name is Patricia Rios, and I am the bilingual counselor at Annie Webb Blanton Early College Prep in the LBJ Vertical team. On behalf of the 500-plus students at Annie Webb Blanton and the 87,000 students in AISD, their parents, and our colleagues, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak in regards to our bilingual stipend for our AISD counselors. I know you know these statistics, but I would like to share them with the public. In a February 8th, 2013 study, it stated, who is Austin? We are 60% Hispanic, 2/3 economically disadvantaged, 1/4 of our population are English language learners, ELLs, and 1/10 are learning disabled or other disabilities. We know that we have a very wonderful AISD district, and we know that we have many other programs that I did not mention. But I mentioned the neediest population because as a counselor, that is who I work with on most of my days, minutes, weeks, 24/7. We work with Tier 1, 2, 3, in particular, crisis students. Many of the things that we do are countless, as many of everyone who works in AISD. In particular, one of the most important lessons that we've taught this year, we've tried to be proactive, and that is to teach safe touch lessons, good touch, bad touch lessons. And so that we could be proactive in reducing incidents, unfortunately, as ones that do happen in even great districts like AISD. We also are a no place for hate school district, and I really want to thank Dr. Starfin for that. I really admire our district for that. In that, we teach lots of bullying lessons, and not just that, but pre-K to K to 5 in both languages, because we know that children that do not feel safe at school cannot learn.
Please wrap up.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to say that bilingual educators and bilingual librarians or bilingual teachers, we teach in the classrooms, and we just can't afford not to. I love the statement that Dr. Karsarfin has, the power of us, and we are as great as our weakest link. So thank you very much for your time, and please consider supporting the stipend for bilingual counselors. Thank you.
Chris Boyd, Mario Cruz, and Karina Reina.
Good evening, Dr. Karstarfin, President Torres, and school board members. My name is Chris Boyd, and I am a counselor, bilingual counselor at Rodriguez Elementary. It's a large Title I school in Dove Springs. I've been there 8 years. I would like to share one incident from my school year. A kindergarten teacher was concerned about a little boy in her class, and she referred him to me. After talking to him for a while, he's monolingual Spanish, he disclosed physical abuse, and I made a CPS report. Later, when the CPS worker came to interview the child, I was the one called to translate. If I hadn't been able to speak Spanish, this child might not have received the help he needed. I'm sure that incidents like this happen every day across AISD. There are many schools who desperately need bilingual counselors. Currently, if you're a bilingual teacher, you go and get your master's degree and you come back to be a bilingual counselor, you take a $2,500 cut in pay. It would cost $132,500 annually to pay the stipend for bilingual counselors. This amount would enable the district to attract and keep bilingual counselors, which would produce better results for our students. This is a small investment with a great return. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario Cruz, Karina Reina, and Sarah Stevenson.
Good evening, board members. I am Mario Cruz. I'm a counselor at Norman Elementary. I am the first bilingual counselor hired by Mr. Bailey, a man with a vision of the future. He asked me to come from San Angelo to work at Johnston High School 1971-72 school year. I've been here a long time. I've been hired. I have never been unemployed in the district because there's a demand for bilingual counselors. Our being bilingual, the principals know that they need us at their schools to help them translate, also to bond with the community. Our days are not over at 3:30. We go to quinceañeras, to weddings, to a lot of activities where we see our children grow up and go through the stages of life. I know that some districts, I'm here to ask you actually to approve a $2,500 stipend for the 52 bilingual counselors. I know that other districts do not pay stipends, that's true, but their salaries are higher than ours. They don't have to pay Social Security, so their paycheck is a whole lot bigger than ours. It is not fair. This is a matter of being fair to our counselors that have to work extra hard for our children. As you know, the population has increased of non-English speaking parents. I have made a difference by being bilingual. I have guided students to go to major universities at Yale, Notre Dame, Brandeis, and also my elementary. I've been in high school and in elementary and middle school. Anyway, let me just end by saying that the children are ready, but sometimes the parents need to be convinced. They trust us because we communicate with them, not just at school, but in the community. So we are deserving.
Please wrap up.
Thank you.
Karina Reina, Sarah Stevenson, Sean Mauser.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Gestarfin, and all of you all in support of education. My name is Karina Reina, and I'm the lead counselor at Bowie High School. And I'm here to support all my fellow colleagues who are asking for the bilingual stipend and also ask it on behalf of our students at AISD. When I first came to Bowie 5 years ago, we only had a small amount of students who had said that they were Spanish speaking at home. Over the past couple of years, in fact, I've seen the number rise. And in speaking to my colleagues, I know that the number is much higher there, over 90% in some schools. There's a misconception that bilingual education ends in elementary school, and that is untrue. That's incorrect. In fact, what we're seeing is as the complexities of high school graduation standards come to our society and to our schools, and as we see the many complexities of trying to navigate through the educational process that is college applications and FAFSA, we are needing this bilingual stipend to support our students who are navigating through this confusing process. Many of our parents come by and they say, thank you so much for helping us. I mean, we have many financial aid Saturdays, and I thank you for that, working with the Chamber of Commerce for that. But I urge you to consider that many of our parents who are trying to navigate through this system, they just drop in. They come into our schools and they ask for help. And luckily, I am the only counselor at Bowie that's able to help them. And I know that other counselors as well help them with that as well. It's something that we really need to take into consideration. Not only are we asking them to graduate with all the different EOC standards and whatnot, but we're also asking them to be successful at the college level and to be admitted to college. Having a bilingual stipend for our students, for our counselors, will help our students tremendously, but most importantly, will help our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stevenson, I just need clarification. Will both of you be speaking, or?
We're going to split it. 1 minute each?
We're efficient.
I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to give each of you two minutes, so you actually
We
have.
don't have that much time. We're bearing gifts.
All right. Well, I'm just we just
Yeah, thank you.
process-wise.
Thank you.
That's what I'll show this as.
Okay, that's
So
fine, totally fine. You'll get out 2 minutes early.
that's fine. Great. So whoever's first.
Ready?
Yeah, her.
Good evening, Dr. Karstafen, President Torres, members of the board. My name is Sean Mauser, and I'm the librarian at the Ann Richards School for Young Women Leaders. And this is my colleague.
I'm Sarah Stevenson. I'm the librarian at O. Henry Middle School.
And we're sharing some time, because librarians are great at sharing resources. We wanted to celebrate School Library Month with you guys. And so here we go. School Library Month honors a resource that in no small way saved me when I was a child and a teen. My mother passed away when I was 8, leaving a father to raise 2 daughters by himself on a grocery store, butcher's salary. Thank you. That thing, yeah. And on a single parent income. And we had little money. I never felt wanting. We had food on the table, clothes on our backs, and I had a great school library that provided me with just about every other resource I could need to improve my mind and my life. Of course, school library programs have changed. They still create readers, but now they also help their students and their teachers and their administrators navigate the ever more confusing paths of information and research. And they still work to ensure equal access for all students, so that every student has a chance to explore and to grow into multi-literate adults. This month, we celebrate library programs and all of their gifts. School libraries saved me, just like 21st century school libraries saved 21st century learners.
I hate to follow that. Okay. Literacy is essential to success and full participation in today's society. And the overwhelming evidence shows that fully funded and fully staffed school library programs engage students in reading and make a critical difference in student achievement. The best part of our job, though, is finding the right book for the right child at the right time. And we just love it when students rush into the library and they say, Miss, you know that book you told me about? I love it. All right, I'm halfway through. I read 40 pages or whatever. And that's really the best part of our job, and we really love that. So now we are going to give you a book, and we hope that it's also the right book at the right time. And I just want to close with one of my favorite quotes from Rafe Esquith. He's the author of Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, fabulous teacher in LA. He says, if children develop a love of reading, they will have better lives. And that's our mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you'll give to the officer there, thank you very much. Montserrat Garibay, Heidi Langen, Joyce Aldridge.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. Buenas noches. My name is Montserrat Garibay. I am the Vice President for Certified Employees with Education Austin, and I am also a proud National Board Certified teacher. I am currently finishing my master's in Curriculum and Instruction with Proyecto Maestría, which is part of UT. Proyecto Maestría is a partnership between AISD and UT for bilingual teachers. On March 22nd and 23rd, Proyecto Maestría teachers, the bilingual department in AISD, and Education Austin held their first Adelante conference for bilingual and dual language educators at the Thompson Center at UT. The conference was attended by over 370 teachers, professors, administrators, parents in AISD, as well as other participants from other districts. Some of the keynote speakers consisted of Dr. Deborah Palmer, Virginia Collier, Dr. Josefina Tinajero, Dr. Maria Franquis, just to name a few. Education Austin members and leaders played a major role in this magnificent conference by presenting over 30 workshops about literacy development, culturally relevant pedagogy, technology, teacher activism, etc. The teachers that attended felt very empowered, and they were ready to go back to their classrooms to implement the great things that they learned from their colleagues. The participants received a complimentary bag, just like this, from Education Austin with great amount of resources from the resource Colorín Colorado, which is affiliated with the American Federation of Teachers. And also the participants received a beautiful tote and a great t-shirt the T-shirt and the tote was actually designed by our Education Austin leader and Teacher of the Year, Caroline Sweet. And we wanted to, on behalf of Education Austin and Proyecto Maestría, we wanted to give you all one bag or a T-shirt. And we also wanted to let you know that we made it to the Texas Teacher magazine with AFT, and they're talking about our conference, so we really thank you. And I just wanted to really reiterate the fact that when we collaborate, Education Austin, UT, and AISD, we can make really great things for our teachers. So thank you so much, and I'll just give thanks.
Thank you. Heidi Langen, Joyce Aldridge, Ken Zarefis.
Good evening, President Torres, Dr. Christarfin, and board members. I'm Heidi Langen, president of Austin ATPE and an elementary music teacher at Galindo. Austin ATPE supports its members with scholarships to help them continue their professional development. This year, we are awarding scholarships to Nancy Fitch, a counselor at Garza High School, and Loletta Grosling and Sandra Stays, both teaching assistants at Travis High School. We also award scholarships to high school seniors who have a parent who is a member of Austin ATPE. This year's recipients are from Anderson High School, Chase Lanfer, son of Kathy Lanfer, who works at the state ATPE office, and Alyssa Porter, daughter of Susan, who teaches at Summit Elementary. From Austin High, we have Kendall Gilliland, whose mother Maria teaches at Mills, and Lamar Nava, daughter of Yvette, who teaches at Baldwin. From Bowie High, we have Aaron Michael Jimenez, whose mother Sonia teaches at Rodriguez, Rhett Kruger, whose mother Susan teaches at Clayton, Zachary Nunnery, son of Kim, who teaches at Bowie, and Brett Plattis, son of Kay, who also teaches at Bowie. From Lhasa, we have Thomas Masad, son of Michael, a teacher at Patton. From McAllen, Rachel Bingham, daughter of Virginia, a teacher at Williams, and Molly Harney, daughter of Mary, who teaches at Baranoff. Ebony Hunt attends Del Valley High School, and her mother, Sandra Stays, is at Travis. From Hayes High School, we have Taylor Herschelman, whose mother Laurie teaches at Williams, and from Samuel Clemens High School in San Antonio, we have Jonathan Van Sass, whose mother Caroline Tucker is at Rosedale. The scholarship committee was very impressed with the quality of these students. Their GPAs, SAT, and ACT scores were very high, and we wish them the best of luck in their futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Aldridge, Ken Serafis, and Susie Perez. Joyce Aldridge, Ken Serafis, Susie Perez, and Monica Guzman.
Good evening, Dr. Karsarfin, board members, president of Education Austin, the Teacher and School Employees Union for AISD. And this is a great night to see all the National Board Certified Teachers, and we're proud to have a nationally board certified teacher as one of our officers in Montserrat Garibay. So we're very appreciative of that great and challenging program with great rigor. I think what I want to come to you this evening to talk about is a process that we're working through in our RFP. Not in details and not getting down into the weeds, but that it's a process that we've been encouraged and told that we need to do, and that I believe that the district, under incredible constraints, has moved through very quickly and efficiently and has gotten out the best RFP possible. And we were able to actually gain a couple of nationally recognized individuals come and present on Saturday. I was very encouraged by that. And I believe that it's very important that we continue with this process as it's been laid out by the Commissioner and by our administration to continue to follow it, to support it, and to encourage the continued collaboration that we saw on Saturday with over 200 community members and teachers there. Same thing that we saw when we had the last community meeting at Eastside is people that are engaged and really want the best for their community. And I don't think that's ever been in question. The question is what are we going to do? And I think that we're on the verge of an answer. I think we need to be supportive of this process, have faith in this process, and listen to the community, to the committee, and follow through firmly, and to be able to take this to the Commissioner that we indeed can do this. We have entities that do not want to take over. We have entities that want to partner. Partnering doesn't exclude anybody. Partnering brings every kid at that school to the table, every teacher and where they're at. That's what public education is, not skimming and trimming and selecting. That's what we're proud of in this process and the members that have come forward. We want to encourage this board, this administration to support the decision that the committee makes and move forward firmly and rigorously toward the Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Susie Perez, Monica Guzman, Mike Carwin.
Good evening, Dr. Kostarfin and Board of Trustees.
Go ahead and pull the microphone down a little bit. There you go.
Good? Okay. First, let me begin by saying I'm a longtime resident of the Eastside community. I attended Metz Elementary, Allen Junior High School, and I'm a Johnston alumni. I'm here first and foremost as a concerned Eastside Memorial parent. I have witnessed these past 3 years the constant changes at Eastside. As a parent, it has been difficult to watch the students, staff, and fellow parents endure the constant changes at Eastside. That's why I support a partnership between Johns Hopkins University and Eastside Memorial. After hearing their presentation and their outlined curriculum, I feel Eastside has much to gain by partnering with Johns Hopkins University. The feedback I have received from fellow community members also favor this partnership. I strongly feel this partnership will attract other students to want to attend Eastside Memorial, and there is much to gain as opposed to lose. In closing, I'm asking you, Superintendent Kostarfin, to please support this partnership and prevent any roadblocks which would prevent the union from coming together. I strongly feel Eastside Memorial will flourish and gain the much respect it deserves by partnering with Johns Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica Guzman, Mike Carwin, Steve Swanson.
Good evening, Dr. Kostarfin, Board of Trustees. Sorry, I'm having to flip through my phone here. Don't have my notes. On Saturday, finalists American Institutes of Research and Talent Development Secondary of Johns Hopkins provided great presentations. It was evident to me and others with whom I've spoken, TDS did its homework. In my honest opinion, TDS is far better qualified, ready to hit the ground running. Additionally, in light of Eastside Memorial's existing medical program, TDS of Johns Hopkins is an ideal match, allowing for the establishment of partnerships with Central Health, Austin Community College, the future Southeast Hub Health and Wellness Facility, and more. Plus, partnering with Central Health brings federal money back into our community. There has been and continues to be divisive attitude in the community, not to mention at times a less than enthusiastic vibe from this dais. Be the leaders you are expected to be. Be the supporters of your students, teachers, and staff, as it is your duty to be. Embrace the ongoing RFP process and move forward. Get behind Eastside Memorial High School and the community in which it lives and breathes. The healing process is long overdue. It is time to lay down the proverbial sticks and stones. The community, along with AISD administration, must work together to ensure a positive, successful future for Eastside Memorial. As always, I look forward to working with the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Corwin, Steve Swanson, Amanda Austin.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mike Corwin. I'm an AISD parent. I'm also here to talk about Eastside Memorial. I just want to say I came away from Saturday's community meeting feeling very positive about the future of Eastside Memorial. I'm not going to say which of the two kind of bidders I seem to look better to me, but I think what we have here are two options that seem very serious and committed to helping teachers and students at Eastside Memorial, to improving academics, but also doing so in partnership with the community. That came through very clear in both presentations. As some of the other previous speakers said, I want to just thank and praise everyone involved for what I think has been a very thoughtful process, despite the incredible pressure coming from TA, despite the time restraints and all the difficult things we've had to work through. I want to thank and recognize the people on the selection committee, folks in the AISD administration, and people outside the administration, all who in one way or another rolled up their sleeves to contribute to this process. I do want to say that I think the positive feeling I got coming out of Saturday, I was struck just looking at the agenda for tonight's meeting, and I understand why we need to sort of finalize a contingency plan for Eastside if Michael Williams does the wrong thing, and I don't think that he will. I understand why we need to do that, but I'm still stunned by the language just on the printed agenda. I don't think at this point we need to be talking about all the ups and downs of Eastside's test scores over the last 3 or 4 years. I don't understand why there's a reference on the agenda to IDEA, the number of students who IDEA might be taking out of the district and so forth. If you think about it, it has no relevance at all to the discussion about even a contingency plan. And it just seems to me another kind of sour note in what otherwise I think has been a very positive and good faith effort. Just in closing, I'll say I do feel hopeful for the future. Like others have said, I think we just need to really get down, roll up our sleeves, get down to it, and make sure that we're actually focused on a positive future for Eastside Memorial. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Swanson, Amanda Austin, Tommy Cowan.
Good evening. My name's Steve Swanson. I'm here as a citizen who's volunteered for the last 5 years in the East Austin community. I'm speaking to the RFP process for the lead partnering entity for Eastside Memorial. At Johnston, I want to add my gratitude to the RFP evaluation committee and to the proposers. I was favorably impressed with the two presentations made last Saturday by the proposers. The concepts and processes presented are headed in the right direction and long overdue. Working with people to help them improve in lieu of mandating solutions or having a takeover by an outside entity. I'd like to add we need to delete any reference in any plan, contingency, or others to student or school failure. Those who write these plans must pass the test of fulfilling their responsibilities. If they did, we would be focused on student success, not failure. Also like to add the question, why should we pay twice? Our current central administration is bound and duty bound to be providing leadership, partnering leadership responsibility to help these schools improve. And here we're looking to an outside entity. My experience in both profit and nonprofit based enterprises has revealed to me that when people are having trouble doing their job, whether it be an organization or an individual, we spend the time to ask them how they're doing. Are they capable of doing their job, and are they trying to do their job? I think that's what we need to do today with our current central administration, is be fair to them and ask them some tough questions. One example is in the current recon plan. It states the academic program must be embraced and owned by all stakeholders. And the oversight for that responsibility is central administration. I tell you today, if that would have been accomplished and we'd focused on that for the last 2 to 3 years, we wouldn't be having the turmoil these kids are going through. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Austin, Tommy Cowan, Luke Meskowitz.
Good evening. I'm also coming to talk to you about some of the wording in the contingency plan that I read before I came tonight. I sent an email to the board, but I'm not sure if you all got to read it or not. The wording would be that I'm talking about is that the Board of Trustees approve the Eastside Memorial High School contingency plan to be implemented in 2013-2014 school year in the event the Eastside High School fails to meet state standards during the 2012-2013 school year and is ordered by the commissioner to be closed. I think it's imperative that the phrase about Eastside failing to meet the state standards this school year is removed. The only way that the contingency plan should be implemented is if the commissioner orders closure himself. This wording not only puts more pressure on the students of Eastside who have already gone through so much in the last couple of years, but essentially gives reason for the commissioner to close based upon the students' test scores, which is completely unacceptable. Especially when we're here in Texas and nationwide, there's been a big backlash against standardized testing and using those as validity to measure real learning. I think we need to listen to the students. They keep saying over and over what they need is stability, and we don't need on test days this looming over their thoughts that if their school were to be closed, that it would be their fault. When historically their school's been underfunded, neglected, under-resourced for years. I think we need to let the commissioner be the bad guy if he chooses to order closure and not allow our students to be scapegoated. And so I suggest the following paragraph read as follows, that the Board of Trustees approve the Eastside Memorial High School contingency plan to be implemented in the 2013-2014 school year if the event is ordered, in the event that it is ordered to be closed by the commissioner. And instead of a plan of closure, I think there should also be a plan of defense in the event that the commissioner does decide to close Eastside. When our board chooses an entity to move forward with, the board should also be prepared to fight alongside with the community to defend their decision in the event that he does decide closure. Thank you.
Thank you. Tommy Cowan, Luke Miskowitz, Adam Kahn.
Good evening, Superintendent Karstafen, President Torres, and Vice President Hinojosa. My name is Tommy Cowan. I'm a graduate of McCallum High School, graduating in 1963. Before I tell you the story I've come to this evening, I would be remiss, and my dad would send me to my bedroom without dinner if I didn't make a comment that I think in heaven he is sitting up there very proud today of the 4 teachers that y'all recognize this evening. So for him and for our family, thank you so much for recognizing the value of quality education as it appears at Cowan Elementary School. So that being said, now I want to tell you a story. Dad came in 37, was here for 40 years. But in 1950, Austin enjoyed what I've got to say is unbelievable growth in the community. They were growing, and we had all kinds of great economic opportunities. But we also had traffic. We also had taxes. We had improving real estate. But we also had, at that time in 1950, an abundance of kids and not enough schools. There were 2 high schools at that time. So a board very much like yours made a decision to have a bond package, and they created 2 new schools, South Travis and North McCallum. And much as I am assuming that we will be successful here in a few weeks and do the same thing here, addressing the issue of overpopulation in schools, they did so then. Now that was, if you use your mathematics back figure, that was 60 years ago. I was asked by Mike Garrison and Mary Nowak of the school to work with them in celebrating the 60 years of McCallum High School, and we're going to do so. Greg Goodman with your Fine Arts Department is helping us, and Carol Nelson, the band director, is there. But we're going to do this a little bit different than we've done in the past. There will still be class visits. There will still be class reunions. But in addition to that, very much like we did for the 125th celebration that Gus Garcia, Ada Anderson, and I did for you a couple of years ago, we're going to have a year-long celebration for McCallum. And in that celebration, we're going to have not only students, but they're going to be activities. There will be renewed alumni activities for the football team. They'll come back. Everybody that played football is going to come back one evening. They're going to go on the field, be recognized, and we're going to charge them a ticket to be able to do that. I'll cut to the chase. We're going to do that for every activity in school. In National Honor Society, we're going to do it for all the other events, the chess club, the band, the cheerleaders, the Blue Brigade. And I have people already identified to assist us in doing that. We're going to bring back all the old teachers, including Carol McClellan, who happened to teach, I think she taught tennis when I was there. But we're going to kick off that. I have given y'all tickets. I think you may have seen them. We're going to start the celebration this coming Sunday. There is a full-time two Grammy Award winner player that's going to be dedicating a grand concert piano. And please come and join us from 7 to 9. Thank you.
Luke Meskowitz, Adam Kahn, Scott Johnson.
Dr. Karstarfin, trustees, good evening. Luke Miskevich, parent of 2 at Metz Elementary. First, thank you all for all you're doing to provide factual information regarding the bond election. Continue your outreach, provide further detail when possible, and please lead with the Citizens Bond Advisory Committee, a group of folks who, in my experience, do a great job answering questions. Second, I strongly support your process for selecting a new partner for Eastside Memorial. While unable to attend the presentations of the 2 finalists last Saturday, I'm hearing good things. Though the situation is difficult, timeline challenging, and the process imperfect, I'm impressed by both Talent Development Secondary and American Institutes for Research. I feel real momentum, real optimism, and I encourage you all to see this process through. Third, while I understand the need for a contingency plan, I'm disappointed that it continues to make the agenda instead of discussions around how best to support Eastside's new partner or how we'll best reinvigorate Allen Elementary. We can't prioritize by fear. I can't believe Commissioner Williams could find ground to stand on in closing Eastside after partnering with either of the RFP finalists. And for that reason, his decision not to require a contingency plan isn't surprising. Nevertheless, your agenda item states that while TEA does not yet require a plan, quote, since the April 1st dialogue meeting, the commissioner has verbally requested that the district submit a board-approved contingency plan for the possible closure of Eastside Memorial to the TEA, unquote. So I must ask, who is speaking for the who is speaking to the TEA on behalf of AISD, with what direction and to what effect? Are we inspiring his confidence or solidifying his doubt? Finally, while I'm guilty of underestimating the effort needed to reopen Allen as the elementary school it was just a year ago, I still don't understand why it would take over $3 million to reopen or why it's otherwise impossible. I was inspired by your discussion earlier this month about making meaningful use of the school next year, and let me plead for it to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Adam Kahn, Scott Johnson, Malin Lindelof.
Hi, my name is Adam Kahn, and I am here to speak about the bond issue coming up in 2.5 weeks. Rising up in opposition to it. I think the notion that AISD needs another $892 million when you still have $200 million left over from the 2004 and 2008 ballots is premature at best. In the meantime, some of us have been looking into some of what's gone on with previous bond issues, and there's frankly some unresolved questions. Among them, who was the law firm that oversaw and sold the 2004 bonds and the 2008 bonds? What law firm will oversee and sell the current 2013 bond package? How are those firms selected? Will that contract be put out to bid? As far as the Vote for Kids PAC is concerned, who's in charge of the Vote for Kids PAC? Who are the PAC members? How many of those members are, have been, or do work for AISD? And I will note that the Travis County Taxpayers Union filed a formal complaint today with the Texas Ethics Commission about AISD officials electioneering on taxpayer time. So I would just like to encourage the district to be as forthcoming in answering these questions as possible prior to the election, and it would just help the entire process move more smoothly and assuage citizens' concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Johnson, Malin Lindelof, Larry Amaro. Scott Johnson. Malin Lindelof, Larry Amaro. And I apologize if I mispronounce your name.
That's all right. I'm used to it. Dear trustees, Dr. Karstarfin, and members of the community, my name is Malin Lindelof, and I am proud to teach art and theater at Eastside Memorial. This year has been a roller coaster of highs and lows. Every day, I find new reasons to be proud of the achievements of our students. Just today, One of my students, Renelle Kwana Blackburn, was honored at City Hall with a scholarship from Financial Fitness Greater Austin. And another one of my students, Juan Martinez Esqueda, was named the winner of a scholarship from the Rotary Club of Austin. In his Rotary essay, Juan outlined what he wants to achieve with a college education. Quote, stability, a chance to give back to the community, and the initiative to be a lifelong learner, not because it is expected, but because I enjoy it, end quote. At Eastside, we all want what Juan wants. Above all, we want stability. The threat of closure looming over us has been disheartening, especially because I believe that we have plenty of solutions on campus and in our district that are not being recognized or utilized. Now, we understand that the TEA is requiring us to have a partner next school year, and I think that partner should be Johns Hopkins University. I was at the presentations on Saturday, and I was pleased with both of the finalists. I researched all 5 potential partners and felt the best 2 options rose to the top, a testament of the evaluation process. However, after reflecting on the presentations, I feel Johns Hopkins is a better fit for our campus, as do all of the teachers with whom I have spoken. I have to cut out a lot. I'll email it to you later. But the last thing I want to say, I would like to ask the board to please pass a motion along with the contingency plan that is a statement of support for the Eastside Memorial community. I understand the need for a contingency plan to protect students, staff, and teachers in the event of a closure, but it is bad publicity for our school and undermines all of our outstanding achievements and the hard work we did this spring to recruit incoming freshmen. Please stand with us, offer us stability, and assure our students and families that you want our doors to remain as open as our hearts are. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Amaro.
Good evening, President Torres, the rest of the trustees, and Superintendent Karstoffen. Well, first of all, I just want to say happy 60th anniversary to McCallum High School. They were one of our big rivals when I was at Johnston, so it's good to see them. They're still going strong. I wish I could say the same thing about Johnston, but anyway, be that as it may, I want to say, first of all, that I was there Saturday at Johnston again, looking at the 2 entities that were making presentations, and I was there along with some other Johnstonites, and we're just so disappointed because these people didn't know anything about East Austin. They were from out of state, Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, elsewhere. They didn't know the community, they didn't know the school. All they knew was that it had closed and they were being asked to help out. But we only had 5 applicants for the RFPs. I was expecting hundreds, gosh, for school in Austin, Texas, the great, beautiful capital city of Texas. But we only got 5. And of course, 2 of those had to be chosen, and those 2 are the ones that were there Saturday. But why didn't we get more than 5? Could it be that because they knew that we had to get someone as good as or better than what we had before this year? And someone asked why bring up idea of public schools? Because they were the entity that was here that was improving the students' academics a year or 2 ahead. And could it be they couldn't meet that standard? Or could it be that they saw, well, maybe we do meet the standard, maybe we're as good as them, we can have programs as good as them, but why bother if we're going to be cut off after a year or 2 or 3, whatever the case may be? So maybe they didn't have trust. I don't know. But I do want to say, just want to end that the commissioner did want us to get someone as good as or better than what we had. We don't have that in these 2 entities. So I don't know what's going to happen now. If the commissioner cuts us off, that's what he said he was going to do. So I don't know. don't know what else to say.
Thank you. I'm repeating a couple of folks that weren't here when I called their name before. Joyce Aldrich. Scott Johnson. Okay, this concludes citizens' communication. There were some items, Dr. Karstafen, and questions that people had. Do you care to respond? But before you do, board members, I just want to remind us that although citizens may address the board on topics of personal interest, such as the bilingual counselor stipend during citizens' communication, we on the board are limited in certain on certain topics that we can talk about and ask questions about. And as part of the consultation process, board policy requires that the consulting members from Ed Austin and from the administration work in good faith, whereby both parties refrain from taking issues agreed upon as a consultation proposal directly to the board, until which time a resolution has been reached or an impasse has been officially declared. So given that the board has been notified of the specific consultation proposals for the consultation agenda for March 27th, of which the bilingual counselor stipend is identified, it would be considered a violation of board policy, DGB local, for you, Dr. Karstafen, and anyone from the administration to respond to any questions related to that particular item. For any other items that we may have questions about, you may feel free to respond to.
There was nothing else.
Okay.
We understand our role in the policy, and we will not comment.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Teisch.
I'm sorry, I'm not moving to approve. I have a question about item 12.4, about the community engagement consultant for student-based funding. I was curious, and I did send out an email about this yesterday, and it may not have come in time, and I didn't have a chance to see the emails this afternoon, so I was just wondering if we could, I was curious about what the relationship between that engagement consultant and our ERS report, because we hadn't made any recommendations yet, and yet we were engaging a consultant for student-based funding. So I was just asking for an explanation of that. And I'm sorry I didn't see my emails. I left the house at 3:15, and I don't have a smartphone.
Okay. Dr. Karstafen?
Yes, Mr. President, trustees of the board, the communications firm associated with our ERS work in the consent agenda, they are, as you may remember, back on November 12th in your work session, we provided an overview of the timeline to the board, and a key component of the project, even back during our retreat time earlier that fall, was to ensure that whatever resources we were getting to do this project would include an engagement strategy and a professional development training component to ensure that whatever was decided could be communicated clearly, and the information would be provided to staff so they could learn about it and be trained on it. The grant award from the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation covered these components of the project. And one of the deliverables in the grant is to ensure that we are going to do that, meaning that we would develop a comprehensive engagement strategy to support the project if the board decides to move forward in June. In order for me to be able to have information for both Dell and the board on what it would take to do the appropriate community engagement, and remember, you don't meet in July, and so we have to kind of tee everything up for the closure of the school year. We did do an RFP. We picked an external communications group to help us develop the plan, and should the board decide to move forward, they would help us with the dissemination of information regarding the project. But most importantly, a big part of their work is to get feedback from our internal and external audiences, and to also help people understand what the project is, collect questions so that we can get answers, and figure out what may be concerns or of interest to different stakeholder groups. But But one of the pieces that I want to be clear about is that in AISD, when we have big, complicated projects like this, and an example of a project would be REACH. If you look at the REACH materials now, I mean, we have a marketing strategy. We make sure that we have brochures and posters and training manuals and informational materials so that staff know how to get access to REACH. But this is part of what we have to think about. So as people ask questions and we collect them, it'll be important to understand that. So should the board decide to move forward, we know what we need to be providing for the public. But that's at the heart of it. And also, if for any reason the board decides not to move forward in June, you know, as it is set up, we can cancel the contract, and that's where we do not accept any more money from Dell, and we pay out anybody from the grant that we'd already been doing work with. But in order for us to set this up properly, this is a part of what we need to do to collect information so that we can understand what our school community needs to know before we start, as we start moving toward pulling together the first big step on whether or not we're going to move forward.
Dr. Mathias?
I would be happy to move that we remove consent agenda item 12.3 from the agenda, or that we as a board have some discussion of whether we want to turn our buses into moving billboards that distract drivers. I welcome feedback.
Are you making a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda and have that one separated for, pulled for a separate vote? Or, I'm a little unclear as to exactly what your motion is.
If the board pleases, and if you're looking for a motion, I'd be happy to move that we approve consent agenda items 10, 11, 12.1 and 12.2, 12.4 through 12.14, 13, and 14, and I'll stop there.
Yeah, and not the one,
All
not
but
the one for a
12.3.
separate vote.
There you
right. Is there a second? Ms. Teisch seconds that motion, and I just want to double check one thing. All right. Okay, any question on the motion, Ms. Hinojosa?
I need more clarity on 12.4. I appreciate the more detailed response to Trustee Tice's question, but I just need to kind of get some yes/no answers for my sake of understanding. So are we committing to $105,000 of AISD money under a 12.4 contract?
No. Mr. President, Trustee Board, Trustee Hinojosa, no. It is the grant from Dell. We've already received, they've already agreed to allocate the money. It is, and part of that money, as y'all know, was upwards of, I think, $400,000 of that contract was to go toward us doing communications work. So this is the first slice of that would be available for us to start getting our legs under us for engagement. So it's grant. And you've asked this question a few times now, and I will say it again. We are not using district money to do this. We're using the Dell grant. And we cite that in the, in our communications.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Snyder and then Ms. Ellens.
Okay, just one quick follow-up to that. Also, a little more clarification on the engagement piece. Is the work they're doing going to help inform our decision? Or is it, once the decision is made, they will help educate on that decision?
It's going to be a little of both. Meaning first, we want to start now because, I have principals that are working. I know the board doesn't really start their stuff, but as an administration, we work a full year ahead of the board so that we can, our people can start planning and thinking about what would be up for the next school year, not the 13-14, but the 14-15. So we're already in communications with a lot of our internal stakeholders. We could be doing a lot to collect more information from even our internal staff. That's where they would start. As you know, in the actual it's listed, there's a whole list of things that they do, I think on page 31, of the things that they would, that they engage in. But the second piece is whatever the board decides, whatever it is. And once we sort out whether or not there is a new formula, and if so, which is where the bulk of the engagement has to be, what the formula could look like, that is going to be a lot of their engagement. And then ultimately, if a decision's made and we are going forward, we're going to need to be able to communicate that widely, both internally and externally, so that everyone from internal staff to CACs and anyone who might be making a decision or deciding something about the formula understands how it works, whatever the how is, which we don't know at this time. But they, but we have, more money allocated in this area for us to be able to do this work through the grant.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Snyder.
Dr. Christoph and I also have questions on 12.4, and I'm somewhat reassured to hear that this isn't something that's going to be done, but it's still awaiting board approval later in June. However, I am concerned that much of the wording that I'm looking at, starting on page 31, is really aimed more at implementation of something. And given that we have not had a thorough discussion of even what equity issues are, regardless of a discussion about whether the board wants to move forward with this or not, it does seem a little bit to me like we're ahead of where at least this board member feels comfortable with going with this item. I mean, I know that there's a series of meetings scheduled with, or the opportunity for board members to meet with some of the folks that are that's going to happen in a week or two. But I feel uneasy in moving forward with something that I don't think the board has really vetted out very well at this point in time. So, I do hope that this isn't going to be another one of these where we've been presented several things along the line, and now we're going to move forward with it because that's the way the process has worked this far.
I'm not sure specifically. There are over 22 deliverables and other communication metrics, but all the action verbs are develop, begin, conduct, to collect information, begin phase one, host, do outreach. I mean, the language that we've tried to set up is all about us trying to gather the information. But what's really important for tonight's purposes, and we don't have to belabor it, it is if we don't want to do the initial communication until, after, and we tell Dell that we're not going to do this deliverable on the front end to get you some of this information, I just need to know it. And if the board chooses to send us back to wait until after June and pick up at the start of next school year or something, I just need direction. But again, we worked out an entire grant with a timeline. We've shared that timeline with the board. We have had presentations, and while no decision's been made, I can't collect information, and y'all know that we're thin on capacity in this area of our work. So if we don't use the grant money to get extra capacity, then we cannot do it until the board tells us we can do it. And I do not have any staff that can take on a project of this size, especially when, they also, we're in the middle of everything from the bond to ending the school year and everything else. So we tried to write it in a way that would show that in our deliverables and get you information that might help you make your decision. But it is up to the board, and we just stand ready to receive your approval or your delay.
Well, Dr. Christoph, and to be a little bit more specific, looking at page 31, begin phase one of internal engagement and communication plan. So you're working with the internal staff, and as you cited, but then begin phase one of external engagement and communication plan is further down there. And you know, I'm back at the point where the board hasn't agreed to this, hasn't really discussed what the issues are in terms of the equity stuff that I mentioned earlier, or how we want to proceed with this, or what the values are that we're trying to portray here. But yet, I mean, we're clearly going forward, and I mean, phase one is first step in many, in most cases. So, I mean, I would think that we would be better off waiting until after the board has made a firm commitment to go forward with this. And would like to ask that this item be pulled for a separate vote to do so.
Mr. Starr, you want to make a motion to that effect?
I move that we pull this item for a separate vote to determine whether we want to move forward or not with it.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion to pull this item for a separate vote? Mrs. Bradley?
Dr. Karstoffen, this is still exploration, right?
And Mr. President, trustee of the board, trustee Bradley, yes.
And we're not expending any district funds for this, right?
Mr. President, trustee of the board, trustee Bradley, yes.
So actually, we're not committing ourselves, we're not committing the district to anything. We're not spending any district funds. This is still exploration. I guess I'm having a hard time just understanding why we wouldn't just continue to move down the path that we are when we're not committing to anything and we're not expending any district funds. This is basically free to us.
Do you have any other comments, Dr. Karstoffen? Okay.
No, sir.
That's just about it. I don't understand why we wouldn't move forward. This is free to us.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on this item? On the motion to pull 12.4 for a separate vote? Okay, we're going to vote on pulling 12.4 for a separate vote first, and then we'll come back to the previous motion. So all those in favor of pulling 12.4 for a separate vote, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes 4-3. So item 12.4 will be pulled for a separate vote. So now we have the remainder of the consent agenda except for items 12.3 and 12.4 and 15. Any further discussion on that? Mr. Snyder?
I have a request-related item 15.1, which is the building use agreement with the University of Texas.
I'm okay letting you ask that question, but we're not voting on that yet, you know.
And it's just a request. It's not anything other than that.
Okay.
That we schedule this item for some kind of future board discussion and a dialogue or a work session or whatever is deemed appropriate to determine whether we want to continue this particular kind of arrangement. So the arrangement that we have with the Irwin Center, I'd like to discuss continuance of that at some point. So.
And let me just ask the question, because we're so late in the year, I'm not sure, it's not to affect this year, you're saying for a future point?
Not in any way at all to affect this particular year, but in out years in the future is what I'm talking about. So.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, I'm sorry, you want to repeat your motion?
Okay. Be it moved that we approve consent agenda items 10, 11, 12.1 and 12.2, 12.5 through 12.14, 13, 14, and 15.
Not 15.
Excuse me, not 15, 14.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes by all present on the dais. Okay, so we have two items, 12.4 for a separate vote, and I have not received a motion on 12.3. So let's deal with 12.4 first. Is there a motion to approve item 12.4 or not? Is there a motion on that?
I move that we approve 12.4, request for proposals, P13047, community engagement consultant for student-based funding.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Any further discussion? Ms. Tice?
I think where I'm perhaps having a concern, and I appreciate the superintendent's description, and I understand that this is being paid for through a grant, but the consulting agreement, the language of the consulting agreement is pretty firm, and it says these things will be done, and this is, I understand it can be canceled and everything, but I think it gives the impression that this is a done deal, and maybe that's where the problem is that I have with this, that it's a done deal. So I think that having the consulting agreement, and it says it will develop a plan and schedule for initiative work group, so forth, seems pretty binding, although we can cancel that. So I think that's my one hesitation with this, although I fully understand that it's being paid for with funds from Dell, and that we can cancel it at any time. I guess my question is, why is the consulting agreement already in here? Is that's just pro forma that we do that and to make sure that we have the services of whatever group has met the RFP requirements?
You want to answer that, Dr. Kersarvin?
Yes, again, as we discussed at the work session in November and laid out the grant, the overview of the grant, the key components of the grant, and everyone's desire for us to do extensive community engagement. We built in hundreds of thousands of dollars in this grant to do what the board said was something that was very important to the board and our school community. So there's a deliverable in the grant award because we emphasized with the funders that community engagement was really important to Austin. And so we have a deliverable to sort out how we were going to do community engagement, what was the time frame for doing it, how do we get started on community engagement so that we can have some feedback for the board, not all of it, but some initial feedback before or as we go into the decision making in June. I can't do that at the last minute. We're already in April. I have about a month and a half or no more than 2 before the board takes its vote. I need a chance to get started on that and bring you what we have. And then should the board decide to move forward, we can continue to expand our engagement opportunities and use other resources in the grant. But we didn't ask for all the grant money in this area yet. We parceled it out. So it's either, and we kind of do this back in this chicken and egg thing about the board makes the decision first and then I go to the community, or am I supposed to get you some community engagement to help you make your decision? And so we've been doing what you've asked us to do about going to the community, trying to work with the community in advance so that you have a sense of what the school community or how they feel about it so that you can put that in your decision making. And that's what we did. So if this is a different direction, it's just really important that we know tonight so we can go back and figure out another pathway forward or no pathway at all. But unless somebody has a recommendation, we still recommend that that you do some engagement and we bring as much of that back to you before you make your decision in June. And this is not about the formula itself. It's just getting people's questions and things on the table so that we can start hearing what our school community thinks and how we might be able to shape what we do next. But that's really all we have for tonight.
Mr. Nahosa?
I think, at least for me, the concern is that I don't remember hearing about this before, and so it's surprising to see it on a consent agenda because there are concerns about how we proceed with this study and implementing it. And I know there are a lot of concerns in the community about it. So I would propose that we just table this momentarily, and we have some time to ask more questions about it and bring it up at the next meeting so that we can all feel fully comfortable with where we're going. Because there are concerns in the community, I think it's really easy to have a misstep where we, for lack of a better word, unleash community engagers into community talking about this thing that's not fully comfortable with it. So so that's my concern, just kind of getting this on the consent agenda.
Sure.
Mr. President, trustees of the board, a couple of things. One, I know for the record, we've come to the board to talk about community engagement, and y'all gave us feedback that it was something that you valued, and we went so far to, this is why I know we talked to you about the hundreds of thousands of dollars in this grant around this part of the plan. The second thing is that if there are community concerns, other than hearsay and the things that I just heard kind of half talked about at the table, there's nothing official. No one's officially collecting that. I don't know how, other than people making individual comments. There's no science or math or structure to it to be able to say if whatever the one comment you heard is 90% of what people feel or 5% of what people feel. And unless we have some structure around it where we can capture legitimate information and bring it back to the board, then we are still going to be stabbing in the dark about what people really think about the design. I know y'all have heard the proposals. They are incredibly complicated to understand because of the in-depth analysis around the budget stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years, and we're still learning every day about what it means to do budgeting in Texas for schools. So I don't expect even, internal staff or external community to really understand that. But if the board is tabling it for action next time, then I need to know exactly what it is as questions that you need us to bring back and answer for you regarding this effort. Because without me going and doing any community engagement, you're going to see the exact same agenda item. I don't have anything else other than getting started with the consulting agreement. And we really want to get out of hearsay and into something that we can legitimately summarize and pull together for the board.
Ms. Ellens.
Okay, so can you, are you saying that actually if we initiate this evening, there will be deliverables that we can use as a board for the June decision?
Mr. President, trustee of the board, trustee Ellens, it's not everything. It's not everything, but we're going to try to get as much as possible. And Nicole, so we will have some part of this, correct? Okay, gotcha. Okay. So the part of our issue, which is why you saw so many develop the plan. We don't have a plan for how we might move into community engagement and start figuring out what people would like to see in a community engagement plan. So
when we're going on, oh, sorry, were you done? Just to clarify that.
Were you? I'm sorry?
Nothing. I'm sorry, just a little.
So just to clarify that, if we approve this tonight, they will start working on the plan so that when what we have before us for the June meeting will include some decisions with ERS, but also possibly along the line of communication. So that once we approve or disapprove, if say we move forward with the study, then we're also ready to move forward with the engagement. So that's the timing issue?
Yeah, and that's what we hope, right? That's what we hope. But it's impossible to tell. Engagement's so complicated, and depending on the issue, each community wants something else. So I don't know until I get into it. That's our biggest thing. So when do we want to start getting into it? And do you want to make that decision without knowing what your engagement plan is going to be? And that's all we have to add, Mr. President.
Mr. Snyder.
I was also going to suggest that we table this item, but I would like to offer just a little bit more of a, hopefully, positive projection in moving things forward. I know that the offer has been made to have various board members meet with some of the folks that are going to be discussing this item starting next week. I think it is something along those lines. It would seem to me that a way forward here might be to wait until after those conversations occur and that we have some kind of feedback from those and then have a discussion about how the board wants to move forward from that point. It would certainly alleviate some of the concern I've got in terms of having somewhat of a common vocabulary to work with on this, somewhat of a better understanding about if the board even wants to move forward before we actually go out and start asking people about doing something and then possibly having the board turn around and say, oh no, after we fully understood what we were doing or had better discussions, we changed our mind. I don't want to end up in that place. So, I agree with Ms. Hinojosa's suggestion of tabling it. Basically, my offer would be to table it until after we've had the discussions with the group that's coming in and then having the compilation of that and further board discussion about whether and how we want to move forward with the item.
Ms. Hinojosa, do you want to?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm still unclear about whether the engagement plan is all we're voting on to be implemented after we make our decision in June, or whether engagement is happening before we make our June decision to inform our June decision.
Engagement is happening so we can develop a plan. People clearly have strong ideas about community engagement, and what we, and so we are trying to do, without board guidance on how you want to do community engagement, although it's been on many agendas and there has been no closure, we are and found hundreds of thousands of dollars to help you get started on community engagement around this particular initiative. So we're trying to get the engagement so we can help you develop a plan at least around one thing that's going to be very important for your decision making as a board. So yes, there will be some early engagement to help us develop the plan and to get people's feedback on what they'd like to see, hear, how it might be shaped, so that when you go into June, you'll have some beginning of a plan, and you'll also have probably some information that might help you in deciding whether or not you want to move forward.
Board, let me, and I want to explore a little bit the idea of perhaps waiting a little bit as to how that would affect the schedule. But to me, the thing that I think we need to keep in mind is I would hate for us to do nothing between now and June, and then at that point, we all start saying, okay, we need to have this for our community engagement, we want to do this, and not have anybody to say that to. Because then that means we're not going to do anything until maybe as late as September. So I think having a consultant with us in June, when whatever it is we decide and whatever considerations and concerns we have as a board, we have a consultant to express those to in either modifying, developing, or evolving the plan to move forward from that point forward. My concern is that if we don't do anything and we get to June and then we say, okay, we're comfortable going to the next phase, we're dead in the water at that point in time. If there isn't someone to take our concerns and our input, and we'll have to schedule another meeting just to have them hear whatever it is that we want to happen, and that meeting isn't going to happen until August or September. So I think I like the idea of perhaps waiting until we talk to ERS to say, okay, how would you use this community engagement process? But I want to know if that delays us until September, I'm not comfortable with that. So I guess the question is, if we delay a little bit until we have these meetings with the consultant, with the ERS folks, to clarify consultants, and we vote on this in May, how will that affect your schedule?
Yeah, Mr. President, trustees of the board, ERS is not the community, that's why we separated them.
I understand that.
Yeah.
You didn't understand my question.
Okay.
My point is, those discussions, as we talk to them, will give us some comfort about what it is we as a board are going to be making a decision on, and how we may want engagement of a particular type to occur and what that might look like. Not to have them do it, but to, as we start engaging in the discussion with the ERS, if there's some.
You're welcome to share that with ERS. They're not going. They are not the people to collect that information. I needed
That's not
another.
the comment that I'm making. What I'm saying is, if after having that discussion, we now have some idea of what we think we're going to want for community engagement, that might clarify in our minds the importance of why we may want to have the consultant on a contract in May or not. It's not a
If
matter
it's
of.
clear to y'all, then that's fine with us.
But I'm asking the question: if we wait until May, what is that going to do to the schedule?
For us, it's the end of the school year. We'll be in the middle of graduations, as y'all know, and it'll probably give us a week or well, staff will be out. I mean, staff will be gone. I won't have an opportunity to engage with them. Teachers and folks don't come back until the August timeframe, and we'll work with what we've got. I think that the unfortunate side of it is that, our audience of people will. I don't want to interrupt them at the end of the school year, and certainly we don't ask them to stay during the summer. So it just means that we have little or no time with certain internal stakeholder groups in particular, and we'll all be kind of on the crunch for the summer time frame. So it's at the board's pleasure.
Okay, Ms. Hinojosa.
I just want to explain that this is not, for me, an arbitrary request, really. I was called to a CAC meeting last week, which I invited you to last minute, and spent half the time talking about this and reassuring community members that going down this route did not mean we were going to close their school. I mean, there are connotations between this and connections between this, people see, and facility master planning. So that is my concern. I don't really know what this community engagement looks like. Are we talking about telephone surveys? Are we talking about community meetings? Are we talking about questionnaires? I don't have any sense of that.
Mr. President, Trustee Hinojosa, we don't either, because we don't have a plan. It would be great if I could send people to go talk to that CAC, capture what their concerns are, how they'd like for us to get that information, and start bringing that together for the board. So I don't know what the group would do, and honestly, like as a team, as y'all know, we've talked about capacity. We can't do it ourselves. So, so you can either leave people out there with all that anxiety built up with no place to put it, and then us going out in onesies, and the board doesn't have the answers, I don't have the answers, but we can help you get some of those answers by having the capacity to do it. And taking that information and developing a plan that has the details about how we would communicate and engage people in a way that resonates with the different school communities of Austin, which I do think takes a little extra work.
Ms. Ellens, would you apprise me of the dates that we have action that are posted for some type of action between now and the end of May or thereabouts?
Sure. Looking at the calendar, we do have a possible special meeting on either May 6th or May 13th where we'd be taking action. So that is a little earlier than the regular meeting at the end of end of the month, which I
Okay.
guess is May. I don't have that one. Hold on. May 20th.
Okay. All right. At this point, we have a motion to approve item 12.4. I don't have another motion to do anything else to consider. So, that's right. So, if there's no further discussion, I'm gonna ask that we go ahead and vote on this motion to approve item 12.4. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 4. All those opposed? 3. So the motion passes 4-3. Okay. Do I hear any motion on item 12.3?
I raised the issue.
Okay.
Don't know if I alone have the concern. I'm not sure that I've seen any previous communication on using our buses for billboards, and so I don't know if someone might be able to explain the rationale or something. There was one gentleman who was supposed to give us a citizen's communication, and I saw in his notes that he had left us how he's concerned about distracted driving, and I'm wondering if I'm the only one who is concerned about going forward with this issue.
Okay. This item actually came up last year when we were, maybe 18 months ago, when we were looking at opportunities for bringing in income as a result of the reduction in state funding. And this was a suggestion that was made. It has been explored, and I guess what I'd like to do is ask staff to give Dr. Mathias and some of the other trustees that may not have heard where we stand as to what's been done in the interim in terms of gathering information on this item. Is that?
I know, it's, Mr. President, Trustee of the Board, Mel, I just need someone, I know we worked on policy for this. Can somebody give me the board actually passed a policy for guidance? Does anybody know that policy site? Right, so the short version is we don't have anything else to add except we did raise this. We talked about it extensively with the board. There's a lot of back and forth. The board created a policy regarding, what? I know, but I just need the policy piece. So my point is, the board did the policy, the administration follows the policy. And we did discuss it as a board. I can't remember if y'all were, I don't think y'all are on the board yet. No. But there was and I know that Lori Moya is ill and couldn't be here tonight, but she could probably talk about it off the top of her head as the chair of the policy committee. So we followed that guidance, and we looked at a bunch of other school districts that are doing it. We made sure that we were competitive. We followed through. I can't remember all the details, but that is the heart of it. And I did, I made sure that we were as competitive as other districts are to ensure that, we weren't giving away anything. But as far as that, we did not see anything where data said it was a distraction that increased the percent of accidents or anything of the sort.
I suspect my question then would be one of timeline. That is to say, is this something that we absolutely need to take action on this month? If not, there are 4 of the 7 members on the dais who've not been briefed on this topic. Maybe is it something we could schedule for our board dialogue, say, to talk about and then bring back in May, or how are we doing in terms of timing?
May I?
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. President, Trustee of the Board, I think that if y'all are going to discuss it, you need to go back. I think, in part, you might want to go back to the policy committee and have them get prepared to come and talk to you about how they got to where they were. But for us, this is part of our budget planning. So I just need to know if we're not doing it, that I'm taking it off of, a consideration to help reduce our $40 million shortfall.
I think the issue is more to help some of the new trustees understand the homework that's been done. Up to now, there really hasn't been anything provided since they came on board that have basically inform them of the process that we've gone through prior to their coming on board. And so I think what might be helpful is to have information either in a BW or in, we can schedule an item by the calendar committee to talk about it, just so that you can have a report on and understand the extent of what's actually been done on this item. I don't think it's critical that it, to answer your question, Dr. Macias, I don't think it's critical that it happened tonight. It can happen at a later point in time. But I think it might be helpful for you folks to understand the work that's been done on this issue. And as the superintendent indicated, we actually developed a policy to address a number of the concerns that were raised by board members at that time. Probably not unlike the kinds that are probably going through your mind right now. This is a result of a lot of work, and I think summarizing that work might be helpful to the new trustees. Sure. Ms. Teich.
And I appreciate that very much. I would also like to have a little bit of explanation where it says, while several districts in Texas have implemented school bus advertising programs with mixed results, it'd be helpful to know what those mixed results mean, what is meant by that. So I appreciate that.
Yep. Ms. Teich.
Ms. Ellen.
Ms. Ellen.
I did want to also say there was outreach to different organizations, and I know I participated as the president of the Austin Council of PTA. We were called in to some of the presentations and some of the community outreach pieces of this. So in the time, if in the information that's provided, if that kind of information is also given to us, because I know there was a lot of heartache, actually heartburn, I guess, on the part of Mr. Waxler at some of those meetings. This was not an easy decision for the district to come to, and so kind of walking us through that would be very helpful. Thanks.
Okay, so let me just ask a question for the new board members. Apparently, would it be best to go ahead and have a BW that gives us written information, or would you rather have it at a meeting? Which of the two, Dr. Mathai?
I would be happy for us to discuss it. So if the president were willing to entertain a motion, I'd be happy to move that we table this discussion for this evening, that we come back, say, during our board dialogue and discuss it in light of the data that's shared with us in the board policy. Would love to be brought up to date on that and for us to be able to discuss it as a board.
Okay. Do we currently have a motion on the floor for this at the moment or not?
We do not, but I'd be happy to move that we table it.
Well, I think if the board is comfortable, I don't think we need to take any action on it. We just let it go. But I think the request is that we schedule it for a meeting to apprise the board of the work that's been done, so that a lot of the questions that the trustees have can get answered, and then we bring it back at a later point in time. Dr. Sarfin.
Yeah, Mr. President, trustees of the board, we're happy to do that. Just did you find can you just cite it for me? CNB is your policy. CNB. Local. And just so you know how policy works for the administration, you develop it, you work on it in a policy committee, it comes to the full board, the board takes action on its policy, and that is what the administration interprets as the board's will. Our job, as soon as you pass that policy, is to start implementing. We don't get to skip policies, we don't get to decide which ones we do one year and not the next. We actually have to go do it. So I just want you to know that this is why, in part, board policy is so critical, and that we don't go down these roads if we're not completely behind them. And while I know there are new trustees on the board, I think everybody's been here long enough to have read your board policy book. And if you haven't, it's really important that new trustees do. It will help you understand why we have so many things on consent and what they mean. I also have another observation, trustees of the board, that I'd like to raise. The consent agenda is meant to be a 5-minute exercise. If the board does get their materials in advance, we draft them to you. I see you all the time. Goodness knows, you call me, you email me. I get lots of feedback from the board. Prior to a board meeting like this, when it's a consent thing, if there are many questions, we can save a lot of the public, some of the timing distraction. If I know, we can pull it early, and kind of keep the meeting on track and bring it back and answer questions in the meantime. But doing it at the board table under the pressures of what we have on an agenda, I just think it would help us if I had early notice and we could make recommendations to the board on what to pull off of consent to keep your meetings on time.
Agreed. Ms. Bradley.
Okay, we're gonna have to get name tags for you.
Yeah.
Doris, I see that right now. Just with all due respect, Dr. Karstoffen, I had gotten in late last night, and I am just now looking at this material, so I didn't even get the opportunity to see it. Which I'm not gonna apologize for because of why I was out, but in reading this, and even though I am on the policy committee, and I know why we have policies, we're actually talking about a business transaction. So I guess I can understand why there's just a little bit of heartburn right now on that. So I do not have a problem with tabling this for further discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Ms. Ellens to schedule this for a board meeting sometime in the very near future. All right, thank you very much. All right, one last item. Is there a motion? Sure. Dr. Mathias.
Be it moved that, I don't have it.
15-1?
Here we go. Be it moved that the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District approve the University of Texas at Austin Frank Irwin Center's building use agreement costs for the 2012-2013 graduation ceremonies of Aikens, Anderson, Austin, Bowie, Crockett, Eastside Memorial, Garza, Lanier, LBJ, Lassa, McCallum, Travis, and Reagan High Schools.
Is there a second? Second. All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of this item, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Let me withdraw that. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? All those abstaining? So the motion passes 4-0-3, abstaining. All right. All right, let's go on to the next item, the naming of the new Southeast Bus Terminal. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, do you have any?
Yeah, Mr. President, trustees of the board, this is just to remind the board of its guidance to the administration that until a permanent name can be decided for the bus terminal, that we are naming it the Southeast Bus Terminal, kind of the official soft name, and that there'll be minimal, signage and things to ensure that we don't have to double spend on using taxpayer dollars to create the signage. But until there's further guidance from the board on the permanent name, we're going to, take this action, keep moving forward until someone on the board places it back on the agenda in time for some action.
Okay, is there a motion? Dr. Mathias.
Be it moved that the Board of Trustees approve the temporary name of Southeast Bus Terminal for the new Southeast Bus Terminal until further guidance is provided by the Board of Trustees.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hinojosa. All those is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes by everyone present on the dais except for Ms. Bradley, who has stepped away. Okay, next item, the superintendent's report.
Yes, Mr. President, trustees of the board. At your April 1st board dialogue meeting, the board provided guidance through its discussion for the administration to bring forward for action a school closure contingency plan for Eastside Memorial High School. Recommended for approval tonight is the contingency plan that may have to be implemented for the 13-14 school year should the school be ordered to close by the TEA commissioner. Despite what people, I do know there's a lot of, community angst about this action, but we've had a lot of mixed closure history in AISD. As it specifically relates to Eastside Memorial, the TA commissioner could order closure because of performance outcomes if we do not demonstrate significant improvement at minimum meeting state standards, which is something that has been cited from as early as 2008 and even with this commissioner. And also, if we are found to be out of compliance in our reconstitution plan or any of the improvement plans, that could be another issue. But as part of that reconstitution plan, if we do not find, if our RFP process does not yield a partner that's agreeable to the majority of the board, to the community, to the commissioner, that could also, complicate whether or not the school will remain open. But we know that these are all three things that constantly kind of trend in the commentary about potential closure for Eastside Memorial from the commissioner. Still, at this time, we really don't know what the commissioner will decide or what his rationale might be for the decision. So it's impossible to speculate. But we have found that even right now, the TA hasn't formally stated that a contingency plan is required. However, in the superintendent's meetings with the commissioner, my most recent one, the commissioner did verbally request that the district submit the contingency plan for possible closure of Eastside Memorial to the TEA after the board has approved it. There is precedent for the board adopting a contingency plan before the district may be formally notified. In 2009, the TEA, in the case of Reagan, did require AISD to submit a contingency plan, but also in that, it was a verbal request. There was nothing in writing. At the time, the district did develop and the board approved the Reagan contingency plan for closure in this exact same time frame, the April-May time frame. When the school was subject to these state accountability sanctions, even though the plan did not take effect. The district, however, did not create a contingency plan for Pierce Middle School, which was surprised the district there in the July timeframe of 2009. And when it was ordered for closure, but the community was extremely upset with the board and the administration, saying that if we knew that it was a possibility for closure, why didn't we build a contingency plan for consideration? So we kind of have two different scenarios that have happened, and we're in the middle of a slightly different one. But the commissioner's decision, as he's been clear about, may not be communicated to the district, or it sounds like it's likely not to be communicated until the June 5th date, or as late as June 5th. This is the last day of school, and just as a reminder, it is very difficult to communicate contingency plans to students and staff after school is out. The administration has talked to the board about the contingency plan. We all did agree in our April 1st conversation that a contingency plan in advance of any academic results or the commissioner's decision puts us in the best light to at least consider some of the things that are really important, especially to students and staff. So in order to ensure that there is a smooth transition, should we end up having to go down this road, detailed execution steps have to be sorted out for many things. But in the contingency plan, you're going to see several broad categories. We kind of put 11 strategic steps. And so strategies 1 and 6 are mostly about informing and reassigning students. This is really important because we have student records that have to be received and sent. We also need to seek options for our rising 12th graders, especially because some of them are fully dependent on the top 10% ranking, which ensures automatic admissions to our state universities, including the University of Texas. We need to be able to work out with the TEA any specific or unique sets of designs that may need to come forth. We've already been talking about a virtual design that might be able to hold the school together. But again, those details are things we have to work out with the TA, and there are many, many, many details when it comes to ensuring that our students are prepared and our receiving schools would be prepared. We'd be putting a lot of pressure on some schools that, while they may not be totally filled, you would be receiving a lot of new students and a lot of new staff, and trying to hold on to your culture and integrating people into that culture takes some time, and they'll need to be doing some work over the summer. The other two strategies 2 and 3, are specifically about staff, creating those staffing plans to ensure that student reassignments are supported by appropriate staff members and that the district is complying with all of our HR policies. We want to ensure that our staff get the most appropriate placements, and ideally the placements that they want. If they can't be at the school that they are working in now and that they love, can we help find them another assignment that they love as much? Strategies 4, 5, and 7 are really focused on facilities. If the commissioner orders closure of the campus, he could order that we cease all instructional activity on the campus. This is important because there are lots of details about that campus closure piece that are outlined in some of the definitions in Chapter 97 of Planning and Accountability. But it could preclude the district from reusing the facility or for another purpose, such as it could not preclude. So we could be thinking about some other designs and things, and if so, I need to know which ones are fully acceptable to the board and which ones are not. But we do know for a fact that any activity in each grade level served in the previous year are the things that we can't do right out of the box. So it's not carte blanche. We have to actually have a detailed plan around that and make sure that we are in compliance with our statutory obligations. Things like an inventory and audit and transfer of furnitures and books and equipment and materials are important to those receiving schools. They'll need the resources. We can't leave them shorthanded in receiving students. And depending on which schools get which students and what the needs are, we'll also have to think about portable placements, whether they're new or relocated, but that's another piece of the facility planning. Another really important part of the facility implications could require that we have to move International High School to another facility if, for example, the commissioner says he's closing and he's moving toward alternative management and he's got a different plan for that, and that we're not allowed to use the building for some of the purposes that we might want. So we need to have kind of detailed backup plans for International High School as well. In strategies 8, 9, and 10, those are really about the logistics of key services like transportation, food service, and budget. We have to redo transportation routes. We need to make sure that food service is making their adjustments to serving lines and things of that sort. And while I know it might make some people bristle that we're tracking the students that are currently in Idea Allen, we must, because it was part of the plan when we were bringing the rising 6th and 7th graders into Eastside Memorial, which was going to help with some of our capacity and resources, especially around enhancing our extra and co-curricular activities. So without that, the district is, depending on how many students do leave the district, it will have a fiscal impact on the system at large. And while I know we're really focused on Eastside Memorial, we have an obligation as your administration to raise these concerns and considerations with the board so that we're all are well informed of all the different implications of what anyone's decision making might be. Also, an important part of logistics is recalculating Title I dollars. That's very, very important for those receiving schools because it'll be based on, remember, the money doesn't go with a kid. It's geographically designed in Austin and in Texas. So we have to think about those new boundaries and how we would draw them so that we can think about the schools that are receiving certain groups of students and how we might be able to redraw those boundaries so that the Title I dollars can actually get into the receiving school for the kids. The last piece of the strategy is around communications, making sure that we're doing outreach for students and staff, faculty and families, that we are informing regularly and posting information in a dedicated district website. And while I know this is all very painful for all of us to do, for board members who've been here before and have gone through this with various schools at different times in AISD's history, particularly the pressure in 2009, these are things that we do have to think about. And while we may never have to implement these plans, and we certainly hope that that is the way it goes, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, which is what we found with Pierce, trying to work at the last minute, creating contingency plans and staffing plans at the last minute, trying to find staff and students and families during the summer was an impossible feat that really did make it difficult for us to get launched for the start of the school year. It is a lot of pressure, but having these plans, being able to go to the TEA, submit these things to them, get their feedback, try to get some answers, if you will, if they're willing to share those with us sooner rather than later, would be very helpful, I think, for to reduce some of the anxiety as it relates to families that would be, and staff that would be most affected by any decisions by the TEA and the commissioner. But Mr. President and trustees, this action is before you this evening for the approval of the contingency plan. We will continue to update it and provide more details as we know, and continue to give this to you in our board weekly update and post revisions and improvements on the timeline as we ramp up closer to the end of the school year. Mr. President, trustees of the board, this concludes our presentation.
Dr. Mathias.
Thank you. For those of us who gathered at Eastside Memorial High School on Saturday to hear the presentations by two groups, there was a piece of paper that was shared with us with data which I suspect may come from the district or from someone who knows these things. The advances that we have seen at Eastside Memorial this year have been absolutely incredible, and I think it behooves us to be able to acknowledge all the administrators and staff members and faculty members and students of that school community. Attendance last year was 85%, this year 91%. Graduation last year was 67%, this year is projected to be 77%. The accomplishments are so many. It seems that stability is what is on the mind of so many people. It seems that it would behoove us as a board, perhaps even to ask our legal counsel. Since our first conversation with Commissioner Williams in January, we have seen nothing in writing. And so I would be happy to propose that we table this item for 2 to 3 weeks. We're taking action on May the 6th or May the 13th on another item concerning Eastside Memorial High School. If we were to buy ourselves that time to get in writing from the commissioner what it is that he is hoping for us, I just hate for us to talk about a closure plan for that school if it's premature. So I'd be happy to suggest that we delay action to at least May the 6th or May the 13th when we meet again to take action.
Ms. Hinojosa.
I have a question about this closure plan. It's my understanding that when the commissioner has ordered closure of other schools, he has given schools a year to shut down. Are we not anticipating that in this case, and are we not requesting it if, God forbid, that is the decision of the commissioner?
Mr. President, trustee of the board, trustee Hinojosa, we have no idea. Every school seems to have its own special case. We've seen where, whole districts are, being closed, and and each one is handled differently. At least our understanding, and y'all sat in that meeting with me as well, is that if there is a closure, it is effective for the 13-14 school year. I did not get any indication from him. I have not heard that he would give us a full year to shut down or to wind down what we're doing. And in the other cases, for AISD, we were on the first round of closure, so it was closure, and then we negotiated what he has in authority to do, repurpose. In this case, we've already done that once with Johnston. So, but, you know, it's at his discretion. But I have not seen anything that would indicate that we would have a year transition for closure time, which is probably part of the reason why they asked for contingency plans.
I think it would be good to ask for that. I think we would all recognize that it would be in the students' best interest to not have to scramble to get this done and shut down a school so quickly, especially when we have such promise in this RFP process. So I think that even if the commissioner has not indicated that that's a possibility, I think we sure ought to ask for that to be a possibility and be given the same courtesy that other school districts have received in the state.
Any other discussion?
May I just ask, which school districts do you think have been given that courtesy? Or which schools?
What is the school, the last district that North
Forest.
North Forest?
No.
I believe they've been given a year to shut down.
That's a whole school district, though.
I think there was another one. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I don't have that information right now.
Ms. Pratt?
Was it Kendleton? Am I saying that?
That might be right.
Ms. Bradley, I think it was both Kendleton and Wilmer Hutchins are the two that I can think of that fit the.
What did you say?
Wilmer Hutchins.
Yeah.
But that was, Wilmer Hutchins was so long ago, I'm not particularly sure if he gave them a year to shut down, though.
There was a trustee from that district that was in my leadership TASB class, and
He gave them a year?
yeah, that's what I was told. I never saw the TEA letter, but I mean.
But with North Forest, they appealed.
Right, but well, it'd
But
be
they
more
had-
appropriate for council to go through, so.
Okay. Ms. Tice?
I had several questions. The first one has to do with item number 11 on the contingency plan, which is on page 2. And this was, I think, a expansion of something that was mentioned on the plan that we saw from April 1st. This is explore options to address class ranking of EMHS students. And there are 3 options there. Those were placed in after the April 1 documents, because I have the April 1 documents with me here. And I was just curious as to when those would be decided. There's an April 23rd date on that, which is passed, right? So
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of I'm on page 2 of the contingency plan, and this is strategy 1, item number 11. So there are 3 options underneath here. Consider creating a separate ranking system, review LBJ LASA process to create separate ranking systems, and then there is consider creating a new campus within a campus for only rising 12th grade EMHS students. So I was wondering how that got put into the plan, and then when that decision is supposed to be made tomorrow, correct? Which
You're
one
not-
of those 3, or
Mr.
I'm not?
May I?
Uh-huh.
Mr. President, Trustee Board, Trustee Teich. No, this is all us, and we did talk about it. I mean, we talked, I shared with the board that we needed to start creating options. I think, I know I've communicated in between some of the things that we've been trying to think about. But yes, we put pen to paper and named them so that you knew what we were trying to look at. But they don't get implemented. It's the consider, review, consider. I need to be able to sit down with the TEA and our staff and figure out what is really possible to ensure that our kids don't end up getting the short end of the stick on class rank for having a school closed or a receiving school getting students who are high ranking or not. I mean, we've never done this before, and we're really trying to figure out how it gets done. But this would, tomorrow, we'd be working on it to ensure that we started figuring out what is really feasible and what isn't.
So you'd be consulting with TEA tomorrow?
As soon as, if y'all take this action, yes, it will give me the commissioners told us he's not going to work in hypotheticals. They're not going to have a conversation with me if the board hasn't taken any action. I've got to take them something that's legitimate to be considered. Now, and I just want to remind our trustees that participated in the work group when we created this timeline, and y'all revised the timeline, you took action again, and you set us up to take action tonight, that we talked about this, and I told you I will not be able to go to the end of the school year trying to also do, try to explain and figure out a contingency plan for closure while we're hot on the heels of trying to negotiate an RFP with the commissioner. I need all the time I have on the front end to do one, so that when we get to the second thing, we are totally focused on sharing with him and convincing him that whatever plan we come up with as it relates to the RFP and any design, we are doing that. But trying to do both at the same time is going to be very difficult. So I just, these kinds of details are things that I want to be able to sit down with them. And maybe in doing some of these things, people will realize that it will help educate them on how difficult it is to close schools like this. And we'll have more hard evidence in that way. But yes, these were not added, like as in surprise, we added them. I've discussed these with the board, I've shared, I've asked some questions, and then we've gone back as an internal team and tried to figure out how we might, what we've learned about running some scenarios ourselves and what we might need to do, like, for example, create a unique PEMS number and do a separate accountability rating filing just for those 12th graders so they can compete just along each other no matter where they go to school. But but this is, trying to call it out so y'all know what direction we would be looking at.
With all due respect, I understand that this may have been mentioned to us, but life interferes sometimes with my memory, so I just have to offer that. So another question, you referenced that you had talked with Commissioner Williams recently, and that's when he made that verbal request for the contingency plan. Can you tell us when that meeting was?
I have to look at my calendar, but it was, I can't remember. Okay. But it was just at a quick lunch conversation.
And when you have conversations with the commissioner, are you discussing, other things besides the contingency plan, as in promoting the RFP process and indicating that, the community really would like to have a partner with Eastside Memorial as opposed to having it shut down? I'm assuming that you are advocating for the school to stay open and that kind of thing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I do have another comment, and that has to do with the recommendation. When I read the recommendation, had a bit of a pause when I saw the language that says, in the event that Eastside High School fails to meet state standards for the 2012-2013 school year. And so at some point I would like to recommend a change in that recommendation, change in the wording. So I don't know if we're ready for that or not, if we need to have more discussion about the contingency plan. President Torres.
May I make a comment on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the reason that's in there are two things about our longstanding guidance from the TEA. One is around performance. The other one is around implementing with fidelity our improvement plans. So, but also the board, needs to, think about its local control. And if there is serious indications, I don't know how that would get communicated to us, but if it looks like we are going to have to make or he's going to make a decision that's not in our favor, the indications of what it would mean if the board, thinks about its own local authority and how you might be able to consider, performance and ask for more from the commissioner. I think it's and for us, as we've written these things, it is at the heart of it, the issue of performance and improvement plans. And then the third thing that's come up is this RFP, which is why I named the three in the agenda item. But if people want to, again, if the board wants to remove it, right, this is our administrative recommendation to keep you as tight as possible with the reality of our situation. But if you remove it, please do that tonight so that I know exactly whether or not we're going to try to address anything with our local control as we have before with other districts that have been, other schools that have been vulnerable.
I just want to clarify one thing that Trustee Teish asked, because I just want to understand. The heading in the columns that says timeline for completion, and going back to number 11 that Trustee Teish was asking about, the heading says timeline for completion. So as I read that, this is saying that consider creating separate ranking system will be completed by the close of business on the 23rd. Is that correct?
Right. No matter what's been going on with it, we've been working on everything so that
I'm just asking.
Yes,
for,
yes,
okay.
we're going to try to close the business so I can get a letter to the commissioner
All right.
and let him know so that we have information and we can ask to come in and sit down with his team. So yes, we would.
Because some of these have a spread that, like the next one down, number 12
Understand.
says 29th to May 3rd. So I'm
Right,
just
but
trying.
we would be submitting the letter that he requested with the contingency plan and some of these designs and asking to come in and sit down with him and his team.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussions? Ms. Hinojosa and then Mr. Snyder.
I didn't understand, I'm sorry, Dr. Kerstarf, your response to Trustee Tice about maintaining local authority.
Yeah, so, Mr. President, Trustee Board, Trustee Hinojosa, when Reagan was vulnerable and LBJ, although it wasn't on the radar, the board took a very aggressive action around, because of performance, changing some of the academic programming. It was a very aggressive move, a pretty short time frame. We worked as much as we could with the school community, but this is how we got to early college, high school, early college start. And I was able to take that to the commissioner, and even though we were very vulnerable, they were very receptive. And because we acknowledged that, yes, it was struggling, in some cases failing, and we brought that new plan forward and discussed it and was able to move forward and keep our local authority. But, I think a lot of the tension that we're going to keep feeling is the extent to which we acknowledge the challenges that we have and our willingness to be proactive instead of being directed by the TEA. And depending on your philosophical stance on whether or not you want them to make us do it or make sure that they send something in writing, or, I keep kind of hearing that. I hear you going back requesting something in writing, which I thought this board decided we weren't doing now twice. So, these are things that when we got in front of LBJ and Reagan, it helped us keep our local authority, and we haven't gone back. I don't think there's been we haven't been on the radar on those since we took that action.
And you're saying that the language,
that was the intent of the language. So I don't know what people are reading into the language, but that was the intent of the language. That you have that's the spirit of the intent of the language. But if for some reason the way this board is reading it implies something else, then if you take it out, I'm just saying the board needs to take it out, and you need to either replace it or leave it out and construct new language and just tell us what you want. But we are recommending that if the school is struggling academically, still after our results and everything, we accept that and we still try to bring a local step forward that's as aggressive as what we were doing with LBJ and Reagan, and still try to, acknowledge that we are taking responsibility for where we are, even if the school doesn't meet the standard that this commissioner may want. And when we did that with LBJ and Reagan, and we were honest and told him the entire situation, it set us free. It set us free with being able to move forward. And so that's why we recommended that you still acknowledge that if we don't meet those standards, we do know that we still have to deliver something. And I do, and I don't know how the board feels, but that, the comment that make the commissioner the bad guy and things like that, I think that doesn't help us. I think we'll get a lot further if we all take responsibility for it and still try to find a pathway forward, no matter what. And that and if we don't make it, we acknowledge that and still try to bring a plan forward that would help make the kids and the school successful.
I appreciate that forward-thinking approach and strategy to dealing with the commissioner, the TEA. I'm not sure that I don't see this language. I think maybe there'd be a better way to word it. I don't have that language right now, but I would like to somehow encapsulate what you just said into language that that would more clearly speak to that. I can work on some language to do that.
Mr. Snyder and then Dr. Mathias.
I also had a concern about the language in question, but to me, though, it was, someone could read it that way. It wasn't the way I interpreted it the first time I read it, but after being pointed out by some folks and seeing it, I could see where they were coming from with it. And to me, to kind of get around it, I went back to my programming days, and there was a concept that was used to reach conditions and logic that was, if and only if these events happen, you get to that particular point. And, I don't mean this as portraying TEA or the commissioner in a bad light at all, because that's very honestly not the way I view it. But, I look at the closure document as something that happens if and only if the commissioner directs us to go down that path. And, to me, just a simple modification of that "and" phrase that's in there would get us to a point where at least I would be comfortable in, moving forward with things. I have no interest at all in seeing this district close the school at this point. I do believe that some of the things that happened at Johnson Saturday particularly hold some promise that we might want to explore, and we should do everything we can to get to that place where we have the option to explore that. But I do think we need to be respectful of the commissioner and what TEA wants, and I think it's in our best interest to give the administration the most amount of time to reach that end goal of having everything in place, everything flexible where they can move forward with doing something with however the RFP proposal works out. So if we can make that one change in the language, I would personally be happy with going ahead and moving forward at this point.
Mr. Snyder, could you suggest what that one change would be exactly?
Well, the change involves to me, there's an unfortunate conjunction of academic performance and closure. And that's at multiple levels, and the word "and" is used there. You might just substitute the word "if," because, if the commissioner directs a closure, that's how we get to that point.
So it would say, ... Eastside High School fails to meet the state standards during the 12-13 school year if it is ordered to be, if it is ordered by the commissioner to be closed.
Yeah. And "if" would be another way to get to that point as well, too.
Okay.
Wait,
Dr. Mathias and then, and then Ms. Bradley.
So we have a recommendation by the administration to approve a contingency plan. If the board were willing, I'd be happy to present an alternative recommendation, which I could easily phrase in the form of a motion, though I'm not willing to make that motion yet. And that would be that we request of the TEA commissioner in writing the expectations that he may have with respect to a board-approved contingency plan for the possible TEA closure of Eastside Memorial High School. In the event that the TEA commissioner orders it to be closed, and if necessary, revise the timeline of that contingency plan accordingly. So what I'm trying to say is, what I'm asking for in writing is simply that the commissioner clearly tell us what he has verbally communicated that to our superintendent. If we are going to take action as a board, I would not mind at all if we were to have that in writing so that we could be clear as to what his expectations are with respect to a board-approved contingency plan for closure. So we would have something in writing that outlines his expectations for us as a board, and it would contain our revised timeline, because I would foresee us coming back on May the 6th or May the 13th. Rather than taking action this evening, I would be happy to advocate that we take action on that on the same evening as we take action on the RFP, so that it gives 2 to 3 weeks for our commissioner to be able to respond in writing.
Ms. Bradley.
Let's go ahead and let Ms. Hinojosa.
No, you please.
Go ahead. I was going to say I agree wholeheartedly with what I heard Mr. Schneider say. He is correct. We have to be careful at what we are doing. Now, if we honestly say that we want this school to remain open, then we need to start behaving as if we do. And we cannot continue to test this man's authority. He's a commissioner. He has the authority to close the school based on past performance and present. So if we have the opportunity to keep it open by following what has been laid out to us, I think that's what we should do. But I think the other thing that we need to do is be proactive and start looking at the community as a whole and realize that the kids that are at Eastside Memorial are not going to be there for the rest of their lives. There are going to be kids coming up through to that school, and we have to make sure that we make the schools that are elementary and middle school strong, so that the kids that come to Eastside can go through there successfully. I mean, the kids are not being born 14 years old. And they're not getting to high school reading on the first grade. Something happened from elementary to the time that they walked in the door of Eastside Memorial. Something happened. And we have to fix that. And we continue to focus on this one facility, but we have to start focusing on the students that are coming through this pipeline. We have to fix it. And I think we need to spend more time trying to figure out how we fix this pipeline so that we can ensure this school is successful.
Ms. Hinojosa.
So a few points. Trustee Schneider, I appreciate your offered change to the language, but it, for me, doesn't address the concern. I think where you started was, I think what you were trying to say is that this is in the event that the school is ordered to be closed by the commissioner. And that's all. And so fails to meet state standards during the 2012-2013 school year is not part of why we're doing this. I think that we are honoring the commissioner's direction to us by putting in, I've heard some say, Herculean efforts to find a partner that is appropriate and that is a strong academic partner for this school. And so we have, that process is well underway, and we're almost at the completion of that process. I think Trustee Mathias, I too am eager for more clarity throughout this whole process from the commissioner. However, my understanding of why we're doing this closure plan is not because it's required by the commissioner, but because our superintendent is doing her job in seeing that we are prepared if in fact this is where we have to go. So I'm not sure that this has not been my understanding it's a requirement of the commissioner, just that we need to be prepared in case this is what the commissioner decides. And so I think this is just our superintendent doing her due diligence in this area, which I really appreciate. I still do think that we have to ask for a year for closure if that is the decision. If we had a year to shut down this campus, then this issue about senior ranking wouldn't be an issue because those seniors would stay on that campus for a year. I think we at least need to ask why we might be treated differently from other campuses in the state. And I don't mean this in any way to be disrespectful of the commissioner, but surely we're allowed to ask. I mean, I think we have an obligation to these students and to our community to ask that we be treated with this level of respect.
Mr. Nelson, let me mention one thing. You know, the contingency plan is just that it's in the event of a contingency. The way I see this is it's a worst case scenario. In other words, if we were required to have the school close effective, you know, the end of the school year, we would have a plan in place to do that. I'm in complete agreement with you that should that happen, the first thing I would do is how much time can we have, and we'd like to ask for a year, but at least we'd have the plan there in front of us. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with the plan being developed for, you know, closure under worst case, but I'm also in complete agreement with you that the first thing you'd want to ask is, can we have a year? You know, we've developed this plan. There are some real challenges. Would it be possible for us to have a year? So I think that's always an ask that we can, you know, have. But if the answer were no, and then we'd have to do it in less time, we would not be prepared at that point. So I just wanted to.
I appreciate that. But I don't know what would be the harm in asking now, as part of our contingency plan, to include a request that we be allowed a year to implement a closure.
Dr. Christopher.
And I think we just put that in a line in the contingency plan, like in the very first part on students, you know, but I mean, but just so you know, like my situation is that, and while I know y'all are asking for stuff in writing, it's really not their style in Texas. That's my everywhere else I've worked, they put a lot of stuff in writing. Here, you don't get a lot of letters, right? They're just when things happen that are big, then you get the letter. So what I think would be helpful is that we take that suggestion, we put it in the contingency plan. It is the lead. When I write the letter, I explain that. I ask for that. I explain that. Give them all the rationale, like those rising seniors and everything else, and then I can take something. And since he did ask for the contingency plan, that is really our door to be able to go in and finally, get, I think maybe even, we can ask too. We can ask, I can write in that letter, can we get something in writing if that's what y'all want me to do? But I always say, be careful what you ask for, because then you might get it in writing. But at minimum, I'm hoping that it allows for us to be able to go sit down with the team and ask questions about, closure or talk about the RFP process, just kind of get a couple of things on the record. He only asked for two things. It was send me the contingency plan and let me know immediately when your board actually votes on a provider so I can see the provider. But I did provide him the, just verbally the list of all 5 that were being considered and it was clear he's been following the issues. So I'd like to have something to be able to, go and really talk to them about. And I agree, I think we could put that as the very first thing on students' action step 1. And plan for what that might look like and highlight that in the letter.
Trustee Ellens.
Okay, first I would, I agree with Ms. Hinojosa that we're doing this for the right reasons, not because we have to do this. Having a child in high school, I know how much time is involved in the planning process for the next year. I mean, my child had to fill out his choice sheets back in February so that he could get the classes that he wants. And so as much as I would love to not be dealing with this until we had to, I think it would be horribly unfair to those students that are currently at Eastside. If we are going to send them to another campus, they need to be able to get the classes that they need and they want. And I think putting it off any longer would really threaten that. I also believe that the wording in the recommendation could be improved. And so I'm going to propose something to the effect of that the Board of Trustees approve the Eastside Memorial High School contingency plan to be implemented in the 2013-2014 school year if and only if Eastside High School is ordered by the Commissioner to be closed despite alternative options presented by the Board of Trustees. Something to that effect. Just to show that despite, because if we're trying to get to the efforts that we're trying to keep local control, taking it, I mean, this is rough.
One more time.
I would like to get the onus off the kids and more on what we could do as a board, like you recommended. So basically, take out the statement of fails to meet state standards during the 2012-2013 school year. And so that it reads, the Board of Trustees approved the Eastside Memorial High School contingency plan to be implemented in the 2013-14 school year if and only if Eastside High School is ordered by the Commissioner to be closed. And then something.
Wait. Eastside Memorial is ordered to be closed. Okay.
And then something that a rough draft would be despite alternative options presented by the Board of Trustees and AISD. I'm not sure who presents them. That was Roberts. But I do think that's also where we're showing that school year addresses that timeline. That's why I think that we're getting caught up on that question, is that timeline is put there. Does that make sense at all?
Sure.
Thanks.
Mr. Snyder, did you have any? Ms. Tice.
I appreciate Trustee Ellens's language, and I would agree with that. I think that we need to, rather than continually dwelling on the worst possible case scenario, we need to make sure that the Commissioner understands that we have been doing our very best to make sure that this school stays open, and I think your language addresses that, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ms. Owens, could I ask you to put that in the form of a motion?
Sure. Maybe. I move that we change the language on the recommendation to read that the Board of Trustees approved the Eastside Memorial High School contingency plan to be implemented in the 2013-2014 school year if and only if Eastside High School is ordered by the Commissioner to be closed despite alternative options presented by the Board of Trustees and AISD. How about that?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion, Ms. Hinojosa?
Do I have to make a motion to add into the contingency plan? Okay. So do we need to vote on this one first?
Um,
Or is it a friendly amendment?
You can go ahead and make an amendment to hers to say, and modify the contingency plan by adding.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to modify the contingency plan by adding a request to the commissioner to allow for a year to implement a closure plan for East Side Memorial in and only in the event the commissioner so chooses to close the school.
Just repeat that one more time.
Oh, no.
Okay.
You can.
Oh, no.
I'd like to make a motion to include in the
Contingency.
the whole thing.
No, that's.
Is that all you need?
Yeah, that's all I need. I think I'm clear. Okay, so there's a motion to add a request for an additional year in the contingency plan. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Teisch. Okay, we're voting on strictly adding in the additional line item in the contingency plan to make a request for an additional year, or to extend it for additional year before it's implemented. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, all those in favor of Ms. Hinojosa's motion, please raise your right hand. 2, 4. All those against? All those abstaining? Okay, so the motion passes 4-1-2, abstaining.
Wait, 4-1-2.
Okay? All right, now we're back to the motion of Ms.
Yeah, we just got to get the vote down. Hold on.
There was only one, you were the only one opposed, and there were 2 abstaining. Ms. Bradley. Where's that name tag, Ms. Bradley? Okay. All right. Ms. Hinojosa.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to make sure that this contingency plan, we all understand, is based on what we know now, what we can anticipate in this process. However, if the board decides at some point throughout that it makes more sense to amend it in some way, upon consideration by the full board, we can amend it. Is that the understanding?
And we would have to submit the amended contingency plan to the commissioner, because that's who this is all gonna, who will see this. I mean, he's the one that's requested it. So, Mr. Snyder.
I'm not opposed to that, but I'm trying to see realistically when the time is that we could do that, given that we're probably 5 or 6 weeks out from the commissioner making a decision. Dr. Sharf.
We're just, I mean, I support that notion for this reason. You know, we haven't shared this with them at all, right? So if we go in and if they are willing to meet with us and share with us more guidance, I may need to come back and say, by the way, to Ms. Teich's commentary on the ABC of 11, like maybe they said, we sat down and we noodled it with all of our data people, and they said, actually 2 of those are just not possible. It's just not going to happen. It's too complicated. Maybe the data is too vulnerable, blah, blah, blah. So we would come back and maybe even recommend to y'all some changes or adjustments, or they might ask us some questions that we need to get more board guidance on whether or not we have to choose one direction or the other. And so, like I said, if there's an action tonight, our goal is to get something off right away, make a request, and if you're taking action in May on the 6th and possibly on the 13th, it would give us a second chance to come back if necessary to talk through these things and bring anything to the board that might need to be changed. And again, if we still have to negotiate a contract, which is another piece. So, it'd be great to have some of these things going on the side while you're trying to get the contract done. And even if the contract's not done for May 6th, and we know something and we've been able to meet with them, then I would just say you take each chance, each moment that you have a chance to consider any changes that might be needed. So, but I don't know if that would come from us or from our feedback from them. But I'd like for us to keep that door open so we're not stuck with one specific plan. But again, by your action tonight, this is what I would start working on.
No, Mr. Steiner hadn't finished.
Dr. Starfin, I see and appreciate your point and understand it. It's the other way of the door that worries me. That, I mean, someone may decide, well, we need to come do this, and you go take a contingency plan to TEA, work on it, everyone gets agreement, and then, you know, changes made where, you know, it comes back the other way.
Fair enough. We've had that.
Which is, I mean, I just don't see realistically time-wise how that's going to be possible. So,
Dr. Mathias.
Should the vote on this motion fail, I would be happy to put forth another motion that we request of the TA Commissioner in writing his expectations, and also consider amending to that what Trustee Hinojosa has said about further requesting that should the TEA Commissioner order the closure of Eastside Memorial High School, that he consider the possibility of providing the Austin Independent School District an additional year for such closure. So just want to say, should this motion fail, I would be willing to offer another one to get in writing his expectations for closure, for a contingency plan for closure.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the motion? And this is Miss Ellen's motion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Yeah, I'll need to make sure that I think we can consider that.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Hinojosa and council, would you verify that this motion is allowable?
All right. I've gotten in writing so I can repeat it. I'd like to make a motion in full support of the current staff and students at Eastside Memorial as they continue their hard work toward successfully completing this school year. We are committed to your continued success and to the continued advancement of academic excellence on the Eastside Memorial Johnston campus.
Council. Okay, there's a motion. Second from Dr. Mathias. Any discussion on this motion? All those in support of the, I'm sorry? Did you have?
Okay, I will repeat the,
Please.
I will repeat the motion. I'd like to make a motion in full support of the current staff and students at Eastside Memorial as they continue their hard work toward successfully completing this school year. We are committed to your continued success and the continued advancement of academic excellence on the Eastside Memorial Johnston campus.
Okay, any other discussion, request for repeats? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously by all those on the dais. Okay. Is there any, is there one last motion, Dr. Mathias?
Go ahead.
To adjourn?
So moved that we adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Okay. Abstain. Motion passes unanimously by all on the dais. We stand adjourned. Thank you.